What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 511 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we'll be breaking down some of the current events and rumors and news and gossip and trademarks and other kind of things that happened this week in the world of professional wrestling that we feel like talking about. Slow news week, as you can tell by the thumbnail and all the different topics we have in the description below. I'm Tony Mango, your host as always. Joining me as always is Robert DeFelice.
If the news keeps up like this, I'm going to be out of a job.
Why would that be? You would have more of a job.
No, it's slow news week, Tony.
Oh, you're doing the opposite, and I'm just being dumb.
you just said it was slow news week.
Yeah, well, hey, I make the jokes. I don't understand them.
Clearly.
That fast, I completely forgot that I made that joke. Oh, mercy.
Move on.
Anybody who gets why I just said, oh, mercy, 10 points. If you get the reference. Yeah. Anyway, it's not a no mercy thing. But yeah, drop a comment below and tell us your thoughts on all these things we're talking about here the way that we normally do. And while you're over here on YouTube and you're chatting it up and you're telling us everything that you want to tell us about, then hit that like button, hit that share button if you want to pass this along to somebody else you think might be interested in checking out the episode. Subscribe if you haven't done that already. Ring that little notification bell as well, because you're going to be aware more likely that we will be doing the live things coming up, because they'll actually send you email notifications. We got a couple different live things that we do have planned in the next couple of weeks or so. So you want to get into that as soon as you possibly can. But also, if you want to help us out, help us grow, not only does the like button help and the subscriptions and everything that, helps the algorithm out, but you can do so with your spare change. If you want to open up your wallets and when you help us out on the monetary side of things, there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. One of them being the little thanks button that's next to the like button, which is essentially like a tip jar sort of thing. But if you want to subscribe to like a membership side of things, there's the join button on YouTube, and there's the patreon.com/smarkoutmoment. They are both exactly the same, just two different platforms. So if you are subscribed to the Darkcast here on Patreon, you get the same exact content you would get over on the YouTube side of things. I just edit them and put them up on both. And the Pick Your Poison tier works the same way. Either one, if you want to sponsor some kind of a direct segment, maybe you want us to do a quick turnaround, or maybe you want us to do some kind of an editorial on something, whatever it might be, that's what you are calling the shots for. Calling the shot would have been another way for me to make that, but Pick Your Poison seemed like it made the most sense. And I didn't want to make two different names between fanboys and that, so Pick Your Poison, whatever. It's not a matter of like I'm actually giving you, mailing you out some kind of like toxin or something. That would be, I don't like the shipping rates more than anything else. So there's another joke. I do like the shipping rates. No, I'm kidding. Oh man. So NFTs suck.
Yeah, apparently.
That's gonna be our first story here. John Cena has admitted that whole NFT thing that they had going on a couple weeks ago, total failure.
A catastrophic failure, says John.
He and they thought that they would be easily selling 500 of them, I think is what they had.
Yeah.
And they sold them for $1,000 a piece. So imagine $500,000 like that. And they sold like 30?
37.
So yeah, that's it's a little bit of an undersell. Maybe.
In that same vein, they've got cameos from Finn Balor out right now, 30 of them, for $800.
For Finn Balor to do a cameo?
For a video of Finn Balor.
Saying, hey, this is Finn Balor, happy birthday, or...
Hey, Sally! Hey, I heard you got married. Congratulations.
Right.
$800.
I don't understand it. Again, we've talked about this a million times. I don't understand the whole fascination with celebrities as it is, but I don't get that, and I don't get the NFT thing too. So I'm kind of hoping that this bubble has already burst, because
it's not. It's far from that.
We probably did talk about it before, but like, no way in hell am I spending $1 on being like, hey, I own this JPEG.
Like, all right. Like, I'll be fair. Like, if it's $5 to see what happens here, knowing that at one point Bitcoin was $200 and it's now like 60,000 or whatever, maybe I'd get it on the ground floor for like $5, $10, but $1,000. How do you expect to get on the ground floor of that?
It looked like you got a couple different things in there. So maybe if you've got the money and you just want to be like flexing that, oh, I've got one of these 1 in 1,000 whatever things, or 1 in 500 things, then I guess that's what it's about then. Is it's just a matter of games that rich people can play because they're bored with their money that they should be potentially giving to other people to save the planet and everything,
Yeah.
It's like, well, I've got all this disposable income. I don't know what to do with it. And I could just waste it on like an 8th boat. So I guess I'm going to get this thing and say, I own whatever the fuck. And then people can just be.
Charlie bit my finger.
Yeah. Like that kind of deal.
That one did sell. I don't know who bought it and for how much, but that one did sell.
Now, even that, though, I could understand a little bit more because then potentially you can be the one that's like making profit off of it,
Well, wouldn't it work the same way for like a picture?
Yeah, but like who's going to really just take a picture like that? Especially if it's just like a picture of John Cena. Okay, just go to Getty Images. You're fine,
And maybe they're stocking up like when he passes away and you just like, all right, I'm cashing in. I got all these John Cena JPEG NFTs. They're all from me. You want John Cena's legacy? Pay me. Yeah, I don't know. But
we will talk about some other people cashing in later on.
But additionally, John Cena said that he was disappointed and that he came up with the Super Mario 3 design himself. And this tickled me because the way it's said is, yeah, I design all my own stuff. And it's like, well, no, John. No, you didn't design Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah, first off, you didn't design Super Mario 3. Second, I'm pretty sure he didn't draw it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I know what he meant.
Yeah, he thought of the inspiration to do it.
Yeah, he
based off of that
himself.
Right.
But that's just funny. I'm John Cena and I invented Super Mario Brothers 3.
Well, little do you guys know that Mega Man, it used to be Mega Mango. And I just said, let's make it a little bit more accessible for other people, right? Pretty sure that the game was made before I was born.
I think you guys were born at the same time, actually.
Wait, let me see now. What Mega Man 1.
What's the original box art for that? Tell me that doesn't look a damn thing like a Mega Man.
Oh, that's ridiculous. It's awful. Yeah, so 1987. So, but see, I had the foresight,
Yeah, from the womb. Yeah, the foresight.
Just like Nikki Bella.
Oh, there you go.
So I think that this might be, unless something changes when it comes to like, the new fad switches over with whatever or something, kind of can't imagine that WWE is going to do a whole lot more of these.
Well, they did well with the Undertaker ones, didn't they?
I don't know. Never followed anything with it.
I think the Undertaker ones sold well. The Undertaker cameos sold like hotcakes. I think they made $30,000 in like an hour or two,
For Undertaker to just be like, hey, Jan, rest in peace.
No. The Undertaker cameos were awesome. You made all elite Scooby-Doo. That's how you want me to address you. Like that. The Undertaker cameos are an art form unto themselves.
I haven't seen them.
Oh, I'll show you some of them.
We might have to do an eventual dark cast about like best cameos or something.
The John Cena ones, I admit, if they were cheaper, I'd buy them. You've seen me spend money on ridiculous things. Like if they were reasonable, I'd consider it.
If there was a subscription service to John Cena with that,
you know what?
You'd probably subscribe.
I might. Still waiting on that one for pizza and mozzarella sticks.
That would be a good one. That would certainly be a good one. That'd be very tempting. Well, it depends on where it would be. If it's Papa John's, then no.
Yeah, no, thank you.
It's one brand that's never going to be a sponsor on here. They're going to listen back to a bunch of episodes and be like, why do you hate us so much? And I'll be like, because your sauce sucks. That's why.
Let's segue that and do another hot tag. Speaking of Papa John's, Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae are having a boy.
Congrats.
Did you see this gender reveal?
I thought that was pretty funny.
I thought it was hilarious. It's like, wait, what are we doing? Why are we not doing the video I suggested about the prison break? That's good. Like, congratulations to them. They seem like awesome people.
They have from the very start seemed like they're such a genuine couple, and that they're just like you can't not root for them in like every scenario, you know. And it's they're having fun doing things like this. Of course, they took the fun out of it in a way that adds more fun, because it's like, yeah, I'm one of those people that thinks that a lot of these gender reveal things are pretty like just ridiculous. I get the sentiment behind it. They want to try to make like an extra little party out of that, and it's like, you know, people like mysteries and whatever, especially J.J. Abrams, because, you know, Force Awakens and Last Jedi and all that suck. But the way that so many people do it is very cringy, and for them to just make a kind of like take the piss out of it sort of video out of it, I think is great. I love the idea too that he's like, you know, like, hey, high fives, and the dog's like giving him high fives.
The dog legitimately was like, yeah, high five, we did it.
Which is like, he's trained the dog to do the thing that he's trained Austin Theory to do.
Yeah.
When real life imitates art and art imitates real life, you know.
We'll be talking more about Austin Theory later.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about Johnny Gargano. His contract is up in December.
Boy, it's another one. I'm glad I can talk about it now. Yeah.
I think he's re-signing.
I don't. I think if he resigns, because again, like, and me and Sean Ross we had this talk a little bit on Wednesday. If he resigns, because you never know somebody's motive, it would be because he just feels like, all right, I'll take the financial security since I have a child on the way. I think the allure of NXT is gone. I'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, we're getting into first impressions of NXT a little bit later on in this, but
yeah, but so I don't think, like, Johnny made it very clear he was NXT for life. I don't think that still holds, considering they basically said, hey, Johnny, we don't want you. We're not trying to build you anymore. We see our future in the opposite of you. And that's not even Dirt Sheet Boy makes it up. Nick Khan said, we don't want independent wrestlers anymore. We're going the other way.
I still think that AEW is getting too loaded, and that somebody is going to be smart, whether it's Gargano or somebody else. Somebody out there is going to be smart enough to go, yeah, but if I go to AEW, I'm not going to get really pushed all that much either. And WWE, like, you know, when we were going through the roster the other day, we were like, oh my God, they don't have anybody anymore. And if you can be a little patient, I think it's going to pay off very well. I think Gargano could potentially go up to the main roster. I know that he says that he's, you know, NXT for life and all that stuff, but stranger things have happened. I think that
waiting on season 4.
Yeah, when does that come out? It's like February or something, right? I think so. Can't wait for it. I think that he's going to end up staying because he would know that if he goes to AEW, he's going to have some, you know, some more freedom, and he's going to wrestle a lot of interesting people that he wouldn't get a chance to wrestle otherwise. But I think it's going to be like, okay, well, then I'll be stuck in the mid card because there's just so many people anyway. And even though he's not, you know, wrestling at WrestleMania right now, part of it's because he's on the NXT roster, and they don't have Daniel Bryan anymore. Who is the best possible person that could be the replacement Daniel Bryan? It's Johnny Gargano. So if they want to take somebody and they want to push him to the moon, he's somebody that could do that. You know, Cameron Grimes, I'll spoil this. He's on my list of people I think is going to move. I think he's going to go up to the main roster, and I'll write up about that pretty soon.
So eventually we got to talk about that because, well, we'll get to NXT. But I think Gargano also can just say, I want to go have fun. Maybe he's smart. Maybe he saved his money. You know?
Maybe, yeah.
If he saved his money, then maybe he just wants to go have fun. And fuck it. Like, I firmly believe that if Gargano goes to AEW, Candice would eventually follow.
Right.
And if Candice follows and Candice goes, I think Candice will be the first one to break down that intergender wrestling barrier in AEW, because Candice, even though she finally got there on NXT within the last 12 months or so, Candice was like not the same person that she was on the indies. Everybody else kind of was. Like Roddy was Roddy. Cole was Cole more than anybody. Honestly, more than anybody, Adam Cole transitioned flawlessly everywhere he's gone. And, Gargano elevated himself to the point where he's probably more of a WWE guy than an indie guy at this point. It's like all these people elevated themselves. Candice did not. So I think Candice might be more itchy to go in a wrestling context than a Johnny Gargano.
Even then, though, she can't do that for, basically a year.
Yeah, but that's fine. It's not going to stop her. If anything, it's only going to make her want to do it more when she's ready.
That's a good point. I guess we're going to find out in December, because it's not too far along. And obviously, in the meantime, if it ends up being like he signed a new deal, kind of like how Pete Dunne signed a new deal, then we'll know even sooner than that. But I'll put a pin in some NXT talk to switch around to another hot tag here. Just to, we're going to bounce around between different hot tags. But let's talk about banned words. We got an update on the list of banned words that are in WWE right now.
I love these.
And I'll say them because I guess YouTube's algorithm's not going to punish me too much when I say it. Blood. So there goes bad blood. Or, showing images on WWE.com that are in black and white, which is stupid. Choke. No more choke slams, Belt. Again, which is like, come on.
It was fine when Becky was.
We did the Becky 2 belts thing.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you have realized then that it didn't change anything about the perception of the championship? You could still just call it belt. It's a belt. You put it around your waist. It's got a fasten kind of thing in the back. It's a belt. Strap. Diva. The anti-diva.
I think they just don't like the word diva, which is funny because I swear to God they're booking them like it.
Well, they don't want the perception that they're booking them like that, but they want to book them like that, Headshot, trauma, kayfabe, which is like, wherever the context, right? Yeah, who's like cutting a promo and it's like, Baron Corbin is attacking Kevin Owens and whatever kayfabe, like nobody's saying it, so I don't know why that's even a necessary thing on there. Mofos, which is still, that was on a previous one, and I thought it was funny because it's like they specifically needed to say mofos, like who is out there going like, I want to say mofos, and Vince is like, no, damn it, just...
The only thing I will say is that like 10 years ago, John Morrison called his fans mofos.
Maybe that's what it is then.
They were Morrison followers.
And why not do it? Come on. So there's house show, DQ. It's no DQ. It's just an abbreviation for disqualification. Why is that a bother?
Because you don't get it confused with Dairy Queen, Tony.
Maybe that's what it is.
That's totally what it is. As I say it out loud, that's what it is. Don't say DQ, they'll think you're talking about Dairy Queen. Well, we're talking about the company that's like...
Double.
She has to be Nikki, A-S-H. Because we've got Cross coming in.
Yeah, let's change Adam Cole to somebody else. You can't say spinal injuries. You can't say victim, violence, violent, wrestling, wrestlers, World Wrestling Entertainment, WWF. Wife beater, which I totally understand.
Wow.
Because that's the term that it's like, why did that become such a, widely used term for this undershirt, that kind of deal?
I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of like that's been a very insensitive way of referring to like an A-style undershirt, sort of whatever. curb stomp, which they do say.
No, they said the stomp.
I thought that they still said curb stomp every once in a while.
No, they say stomp. If somebody's saying curb stomp, they're getting it wrong. Like they're slipping up.
They can't say push. So
that's funny.
Jim Ross is mad about it.
He shoved him down. Like you can't say, oh, he pushed him over.
I guess maybe that's the specification behind it. You can't say that somebody's getting over or being over or any of that kind of thing, which again, it's inside baseball stuff. So why would you be saying that? You know, this person's being over with the crowd. You know, what? That doesn't make any sense out of context.
Is this a thing for the media? Like, hey, if you're going to interview our guys, don't fucking say getting over. Don't phrase these questions like that.
No, I think it's literally for the people that are inside WWE putting stuff outward. Like they wouldn't want an article on WWE.com that would say something like the violence in this match is whatever. Yet, when you talk about something like Ilya Dragunov against Walter, how many people are like, that was one of the most violent matches that we've seen? Violence on the list.
Yeah.
So it's all, you know, context if we want to say it kind of a thing, but they don't want any kind of inside terms like babyface, heel, jobber. The card, you can't say something's on the card. You can't say strangle, kill, or murder.
Don't they all say card subject to change?
Yep. But you can't actually say it out loud, I guess. Kind of like that OCD sort of thing, you know. It's micromanaging. And I don't quite understand it 100%, but it is what it is.
Yeah. There's also isn't concussion on that list?
Not on the list that I had seen.
I saw one that had concussion.
But they try not to say concussion, and they try not to say anything related to COVID as well. Yeah, so you would think that would be on the list.
That's why you get to a point where you're like, hey, why is Samoa Joe out? Injuries.
Mm-hmm. Okay, unforeseen circumstances.
Can you elaborate?
They're like, no good boo-boos.
Can you elaborate? Hello, my name is Mr. Burns. I think you have something else for me. Okay, Mr. Burns, what's your first name? I don't know.
What if like the report started saying things like that? Like they try to appeal more to like the G side, even more so than PG. So it says like Samoa Joe must relinquish championship title due to ouchies. But that's a story in and of itself. Samoa Joe, out of nowhere, on like, was it like Saturday or so?
Saturday night at 7:52 p.m. Eastern time. I know this because I'm just sitting down to eat dinner and kind of checking out the MTV VMAs, which I don't normally do. And I'm like, wait. I literally scrolled past this video, Tony, because I just saw, Samoa Joe posted an Instagram video. He's just talking. I'll go and look at it later. And then I go, oh, I guess he relinquished the belt. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he just, for some reason, we don't know, he has some sort of injury and is going to be out long enough that they decided that he needed to relinquish the championship. So
I hate you because now all I can think of is no good boo-boos.
No good boo-boos and ouchies. We don't know what the no good boo-boos are. We don't know the extent of the ouchies.
Like he's like, oh, it's very brief. I'll be back. It's like, I don't know, man. You said that before.
It's very concerning because not only are they not saying anything, which when they're not, it's one of two things. And I think we've talked about this with the last thing that happened that was sort of like this, but we might not have. It might have been off air too. If WWE doesn't say anything, there's either nothing to say or there's something to say. And it sounds very like, well, fucking, of course, Tony, you go left, you go right, you go forward, and you go backward. That's directions. But hey, there's diagonal. But like, they're either not saying something because they specifically want to avoid saying whatever it is. Like what happened with Keith Lee, where they were like, we're not going to say anything because this is a COVID-related thing, and we don't want to make it seem like this is our fault or this is, yeah, whatever that was on their mind that they thought it was going to be backlash, other than the idea that people would have been like, oh, fuck, man, I hope that you're okay, Keith Lee. Because that's all anybody would have really done.
And I mean, yeah, but like, let's be fair. Yes, people would have been like, WWE's being negligent, but
But they're saying that
WWE was
anyway.
being negligent, so whatever.
It's like we don't want people to say that we're not taking things seriously, and then people could go, yeah, but you have people go into the arenas and everything. You're not taking it as seriously as you potentially could, and then you go, oh, I gotta make money, and then we're having the same discussions anyway. It's just it makes like I think that the Keith Lee thing, for instance, and I understand like his own privacy when it comes to that. If he didn't want to say anything, then that's his right. It's his health, but like that just makes a bigger story out of things a lot of the time. And in life in general, here's life tips from Tony for anybody who wants to know. We keep saying a lot of the same phrases, say what you mean what you say, just be honest, all that other kind of stuff. It's just true because it's just like, just stab it, that kind of thing. And when it comes to something that's a problem, either if it's something serious, I'll quote something I said to a friend of mine earlier today. If you have something going on that you don't feel comfortable talking to somebody about, it's either serious, in which case you need to talk to somebody, or it's not so serious, in which case, why the hell are you so concerned about talking to somebody about it? It's one or the other. You know what I mean? Either Samoa Joe has something going on, which they should clarify and say something like, we found some kind of a problem with his whatever, he's got like an arm injury. Let's just say that. Let's like he had some bone spurs in his arm or something, and he's going to be out for like a year. We found some bone spurs in his arm, and he's going to need surgery, and he's going to be out for like a year. We're hoping he'll come back sooner. And you know what the reports would be like? Samoa Joe is injured. He relinquished the championship. Hey, who's going to win the championship next? That sucks for Joe. And then everybody would move on. But when you don't say what it is, then for the next however many weeks or months, we're going to be all going, is Samoa Joe going to come back? Well, was it a COVID thing? Was it a concussion thing? Was it both? Was it whatever? Is it? I don't know. It blows it out of its own water, kind of.
And let me just soapbox time. This company has a problem with the way that people perceive any information that they make public. How you saw the same messages I did because we're in the same group chat. People were like, "It's a work." I don't.
Yeah, it's true. If WWE announced it, I don't believe it. That kind of thing.
I was like, "What? The man is giving up the belt on a Sunday night." Oh no, it's a work for NXT 2.0 on a Sunday at 7:52 on Instagram. Like, if they were gonna just do that, they would have had him beat Karrion Kross and say, "I did my job. Here's your belt." Like,
which I kind of wish by now that they would have done, if they would have had the foresight.
That would have been badass. That
would have been pretty cool if he would have been like, look, I don't need to be champion. I'm Samoa fucking Joe. I just needed to make sure that guy wasn't champion anymore. Fuck him. Like, that would have been kind of cool. That could have even started another story where somebody else could have been like, you're going to give up the championship, dude? Like, what the fuck? That spits in the face of all that. And he'd be like, you want me to spit in your face? Fuck you up too? Like... But I didn't think that it was going to end up being work. I did think for a split second, I was like, it's a little convenient, the timing, Like you just announced the Fatal 4-Way. It's going to be for a number one contenders thing. It's this relaunch of some sorts. And I'm like, it would have been a lot different of a story if that would have been the day after the Fatal 4-Way went down and we settled on a number one contender. But it worked the way that it worked for whatever reason. If you believe in karma, if you believe in destiny, if you believe in, the mathematical ideas of the universe, whatever it might be, I don't know. It seems like that happened for that reason. And we will talk about who became champion when we talk about NXT.
Speedy recovery, Joe. I miss you already. So.
Loved, as far as like stories go for this year, one of my favorite stories of the year was, hey, Joe's back to wrestling. I'm like, good. That's what I want to hear. Injured people healthier and back to doing what they want to do. So I don't like this idea that he's out with some kind of an injury. I don't care if it's a hangnail or if it's something super serious. Not a big fan of him being injured. Hopefully it's a much quicker recovery than it kind of seems like it would be.
Right.
But even then, I mean, there's an implication here that he's probably going to be out for a while because they decided that they were just going to have him relinquish the championship. But maybe they said, you know what? Even if you're only out for a month, let's have it happen like that anyway. We don't need you to be champion right now.
Right. They pick and choose.
Right.
Because Finn Balor was out for like 2 months. And they're just like, no, we got the Undisputed Era. We don't need... I bet they wish they had that card to play.
Meanwhile, there's other people who are like, okay, you're going to be gone for an indeterminate amount of time, give up the championship, and then 2 weeks later, they're okay.
Yeah.
Realistically speaking, like, for instance, like Dolph Ziggler, he wasn't out for super long amount of time when he was champion, remember?
But they just wanted the belt. They just wanted the belt off him.
They wanted him to cash in, and then they were like, well, that's mission accomplished. Let's just move on to another person. So hopefully Joe is more in that latter camp of, well, we kind of wanted to transition to a new champion anyway. Let's just do that. That'll be a little bit more interesting for the NXT show. And we'll come back around to the idea of you fighting whoever we had planned on you fighting. It'll just be a non-title, or maybe you'll be the challenger, or whatever it might be.
Here's what I'll say. I don't think the guy that won was going to win.
Same here. So we will talk about that in a little bit. Real quick note about championships. It's not this time of the year normally, but I started up the Champsgiving tournament for 2021. Because
what are we doing?
I realized that I would not be able to do it around Thanksgiving. So I'm like, oh shit, I gotta do that. So because there is so much talk right now about the whole King of the Ring coming back and everything like that, I figured let's do one of the ones we had on our list that would have been a potential option that we were talking about for doing this year, which is who's the best King of the Ring so far. And this will end right around the time of Crown Jewel. So it'll either end before Crown Jewel, which more than likely it'll end the day or so after Crown Jewel. But we wouldn't have been able to tell if that person, if there is like the Queen's Crown, or if there is King of the Ring, or whatever it might be, that would be like the day anyway. So we can't say that person's the best King of the Ring of all time, or whatever it might be. So we're working with 23 wrestlers right now. And it's from Don Morocco all the way through Shinsuke Nakamura, because the people who won the tournament itself are in there, and the people who beat somebody else, like Jim Duggan,
like Haku,
for instance. Haku,
right?
You know, I mean, Haku didn't beat Harley Race, if I remember correctly. He was just like given.
Harley Race had that injury when he jumped on that table, and Haku was just given the crown. But yeah, he would eventually beat Harley Race at the Royal Rumble in '89. Jesus Christ. I'm worried about me.
So what the first round is here is our qualifying round, and you guys have the task of eliminating 7 people from the list, because out of 23, we kind of can't do a normal bracket, and I can't add 9 people to it to make it a 32. So we're going to get rid of a couple, and we're going to make it a top 16. And then move on next week into round 1 and talk about however the seeding ends up going out, because based off of the votes that you guys do for the qualifying round, that's going to determine some of the seeding. And you're going to be able to vote on, is the Macho King better than Bret Hart, or King Booker better than, I don't know, Baron Corbin, whatever it might be. We'll see.
It's so weird, because I think Bret Hart, he's not the only babyface to win the tournament, but he's like the most prominent. And
he's a 2-timer.
Yeah, well, a lot of, like, that one was a one-off house show. I don't like, some of those are hard to classify, but Bret Hart is definitely the only guy I think of when I think of babyface King of the Ring.
Pretty much the same when it comes to me too. So I guess we're not voting on him being one of the 7 ones eliminated so far, but that's up there. You can see it on the sidebar. Go and click on that and vote while you can on the qualifying round. Wanted to make sure that everybody knew about that before we move on to multiple rounds, and then people go, oh man, what the hell? I didn't even know that was a thing going on right now.
We're not doing play the game, but blind tag. Who do you think is going to win Queen's Crown?
My gut reaction would be, if they do it, that it's literally going to be Charlotte wins it.
My instinct tells me, all right, I'm looking at, honestly, 2 people who we'll be talking about later, in Carmella and Liv. If Liv wins, it's the literal ending of King of the Ring 93 with Jerry Lawler and Bret Hart. If Carmelo wins, it's just because, hey, Carmelo, we found a new gimmick for you.
Just an extension of the most beautiful woman in WWE thing.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think that would be who would end up winning. I don't think that this is a good idea that they're having a match at Extreme Rules either, because there's no gimmick for it, but we'll talk about that next week.
We'll get there. Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it at some point tonight, but yeah.
Let's talk trademarks. They trademarked Andre Chase University. Mm-hmm. Wonder who that's for.
Totally.
Drake Maverick.
For Scott. Yeah.
They seem like they're going in a direction here where he is a heel. Like they've settled on he's going to be a heel, and that he's going to be saying things like he said on this past episode. Like, you know, it's a moment to teach or whatever it was. So I guess he's going to be like, you know,
Dean Douglas, just say it.
Yeah, I guess kind of a little Matt Striker-ish in some ways.
A little PowerPoint presentation-ish, maybe.
Maybe a little bit less interesting than the PowerPoint presentation. I still want to see the full thing, Gulak. Which, by the way, Gulak is on my list of who I think should trade between different rosters. Not going to say where. But obviously it's one of the two other ones because it's not Monday Night Raw. Anyway, you'll have to read that when I write up that article down the line. And that's the only like trademark that I came across other than names. But the names we know quite a bit of now. At the beginning of this week, there was just a bunch of names, and I had written down WWE trademarks and then a series of names, and then slowly but surely we figured out who was who. So Anriel Howard is now going to be Lash Legend.
Is that I don't know who Anriel Howard is.
I think she might have popped up like once so far.
Oh, it's a girl.
Yeah.
Lash Legend to me.
I thought that it was a more male sounding name.
Sounds like the next
Lucky Cannon
Cruiserweight champion.
I thought it sounded like a Lucky Cannon type of thing. It's like, you know, or you know what it sounds kind of like to me? Something that somebody would have on like the show Heels. It'd be like, you know, like Bobby Pin is going to fight Lash Legend, you know? So I was surprised about that, but yeah, whatever.
Let's talk about, what's his name? Gunnar Harland?
Gunnar Harland, but maybe not Gunnar anymore. It seems like he might just be Harland.
No.
That's Parker Boudreaux.
Gunnar is such a good name for him.
But look at what we just talked about with the updated list of words that are banned. If they're like, we won't want you to say this and this and this, do you think they're going to want to have somebody named Gunnar for like a shooting or something?
Oh, God.
Think about it.
Yeah,
whatever the next mass shooting is, it'd be like, oh, Gunnar did this or whatever.
Well, remember Apollo?
Right, Apollo Crews. So it's like, make him Gunther Harland. Gunther. Now he's...
what's he going to do? Team with Von Wagner?
Yeah. Thank God the Von Wagner thing did not actually end up being Von Wagner.
Wagner?
Because if he would have just, like, you know, pulled a wagon down to the fucking ramp, then it would have been like, all right, this guy's dead already. His career's done. He's going to be like doing a bunch of promo puns based off of that. I'll be like, you know, somebody starts tagging up with him. They're like, hey, I'm going to hitch my wagon to you.
Damn.
Drop a comment below about how much you hate me. But we got Gunnar Harland or just Harland. It's Parker Boudreaux. We got Josh Dawkins is Malik Blade.
Yeah. He debuted on 205 Live. Did you watch it?
I half did.
What would you half think?
Wasn't half bad.
I was counting on you and you pulled through. Thank you.
Zing. Sean Tan is Dante Chen. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Stephanie Delandre or Delander. I've heard
Persia?
It both. Is Persia Pirotta?
This chick is my favorite. She just shows up and she's like, I'm here for Disney World. All right.
And then that's it so far.
And she was in the wedding. She and Indy can be women's tag team champions.
That seems like it's, they could potentially go down that route. Yeah.
Cora Jade was also in the wedding party, so they could do that.
She had that hat on. I like that little part.
I thought all the wedding. We'll get there.
Yeah. We've got Matrick Belton, who is Trick Williams. So they took the Ma out and replaced Belton with Williams. We'll talk about him, why he popped up. We'll talk about Joe Ariola's new name when we talk about where he was in the mix on here.
Hey, yo, I'm Joey Nipple.
Well, it'd be something like Nippolini or something like that. And we'll also talk in great detail about Bronson Rechsteiner and not only his new name / names, but also what he did on NXT.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
But before we get into NXT, let's talk about Monday Night Raw. So Monday Night Raw started off already with this looming threat over the whole night.
Can we set the table here? On Friday last week, we get the complete overhaul that they go from Big E. They go from Bobby Lashley and MVP are gonna challenge Orton and Riddle to Lashley and Orton aren't waiting. They're just gonna have a WWE title match. Okay, sure. Then Fightful Select, subscribe today, breaks the news that Big E is going to be on Raw. Big E takes this and goes, let's just let the cat out of the bag. I'm cashing in tonight. Okay. So the whole show is looming over. Is Big E Langston actually going to cash in the briefcase? And, yeah.
I mean, it starts off with just, hey, if you didn't catch it, Big E is saying, I'm cashing in tonight. And they make sure you know for a fact, that's good that they're doing that. It kind of spoils the idea that you don't have that surprise cash in, but if they want to get the rating, that's a smart way of doing it. We bounced around a little bit with some other topics, like Charlotte beat Shayna Baszler, and then Alexa Bliss came out, gave her a present, which was a gift of something for her to play with when she takes her Raw Women's Championship at Extreme Rules. Turns out to be a doll that is somewhat resembling Charlotte. What's the name of it again? Charlie.
Yeah. Caruso actually tweeted about it, and she's like, "Oh well, I know I'm missed."
That's funny. So that's just a little thing. Once again, not setting up any kind of a gimmick. We are only a week and 2 days away from Extreme Rules, and not a single gimmick match has been announced, nor has a single one of them even been hinted at, like they've done in the past, where it ends up being like, all right, well, they keep attacking each other with ladders, so it's probably going to be a ladder match. It's just like, I guess next week, either they're going to announce some completely random things.
So they've announced several segments for next week, but I want to get to the end of our Raw talk to get there.
All right, remind me about it.
I will.
Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders beat Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky.
I wonder if Drew McIntyre is going to SmackDown.
I wonder if he definitely is. Reggie did a whole thing again, evading the people trying to go after the 24/7 title. It was a plan apparently by Drake Maverick.
This is so funny to me. These guys just want to win this green championship. And Reggie's just like, I get TV time. I'm going to flip. And here's Drake Maverick like, you poor fools. I know exactly what's wrong with you, and your execution is off. It's like, I don't know why, but this is actually, like, this works for me.
You know that one a couple weeks ago where there was the whole ice cream truck?
Yeah.
Devon spoke about it. Remember how that guy pops up in the background and he's like,
oh, yeah,
confused?
He actually thought He actually thought the guy just stole the ice cream truck.
It was an actual just random bystander kind of thing, and he talked about it on a podcast. I'm forgetting what it was, so sorry I can't plug it. But if you go search,
it's Table Talk.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, then. Yeah. So check out that podcast if you want the better story when it comes to it. But the long and short of it was they were filming it. This guy actually came out of this like RV camper type thing thinking something was going on or whatever. And they thought that it was just way too funny. So they were talking to the guy and whatever. And the guy said he wanted them to buy him lunch. Like, well, can you buy me lunch if you're going to like do this thing or whatever? And then apparently the woman that he was with was mad at him because he didn't bring anything to her. It's great.
I love that.
Damian Priest and Jeff Hardy had an interesting match. I liked that little segment during the match where they were all like countering each other and missing their moves and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and Sheamus is not... Damn it. And Jeff Hardy is not done with Damian Priest or Sheamus because it has been announced that Jeff Hardy will face Sheamus on Raw, and should Jeff Hardy win, he will be added to the match at Extreme Rules. And I'm sure there will be a ladder involved at some point.
Huh. I didn't see that.
Thought.
I would love to see a ladder match on this card. I was leaning more towards Usos and Street Profits, but...
Yeah, I really want to see that in a ladder match.
I want to see, again... how high up in the air Montez Ford can get off the top of a ladder because
he jumps. And Dante Martin, man, they're just like, I don't know how they do it.
They've got those shoes from the 90s where they could just pump it up, you know?
Yeah, and you get nothing but air.
Yeah. Jordan would have been very jealous.
Very.
Nikki ASH. What did I just call her?
Look, that name is getting harder and harder to say.
Or something like Nikki Etch-a-Sketch or something.
Between DeVille saying
Nikki AHS.
And then they announce Nikki gets the win and they just go, and the winner is Tamina.
Well, supposedly, she wasn't supposed to win the match. She beats Tamina by pinfall, and they play Tamina's music, and the winner of this match is Tamina.
That is ridiculous.
So they had Tamina's music queued up, and Rome was ready to say Tamina, and it just everybody had a brain fart moment.
Well, hold on a minute though. A music guy maybe because you hit the button and you get like fuck button, but Rome, you're not watching the match. Are you not watching the match?
Right. I guess it's just one of those things where it's like, they told me to say this, so I'm gonna say it. Like, don't be mad at me if I say that Nikki won and it's wrong because Tamina's supposed to win, that kind of deal. But it's absolutely ridiculous, and that's just one of those botches that becomes just like, I don't know how it happens, but then again, look at when I botch on this show, so
Well, additionally, Rhea Ripley beat Natalya.
Yep.
Pretty good match.
I think I got some points on the fantasy league for that one. I might have.
And it was announced that there will be a women's tag team championship match next week. Natalya and Tamina against Ripley and ASH.
Because, why would you do it on the pay-per-view, or why would you give it to the people that have won like 5 different number one contenders matches?
Because Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart are running around Dollywood instead of fighting for the tag team championship when they beat the champions like 3 times in a row.
I don't get it.
Ridiculous.
AJ Styles and Mason T-Bar beat Kofi, Xavier Woods, Mansoor Mustafa Ali. Doudrop beat Eva Marie. Karrion Kross basically said, hey, I'm not going to get lost in the shuffle here, and I don't have my mask on right now. So I'm hoping that that's a good sign that they figure that this is stupid as all hell and that they need to go back to just being Karrion Kross.
God willing, draft is coming. Give me Scarlett. If you don't give me Scarlett soon, I'm assuming you're just letting her go.
Then we got to the main event, and not just main event as far as the main event goes, but the main event as far as the most interesting thing that happened on Monday Night Raw. Bobby Lashley retains over Randy Orton, and Big E fulfills what he said that he was going to do. He cashes in the Money in the Bank contract, beats Bobby Lashley, and it ends with like 8 seconds, what feels like left in the show of like, hey, we got a new champion. This is great. All right, see you later, everybody. That kind of thing.
How mad was I when this happened?
Yeah.
I was just like, what is, look, we all love Big E. We all think he's the shit. He's the man. He deserved to be champion years ago. And nobody's disputing this. But this was so rushed and so hot-shotted. And in 3 months, it's going to mean nothing. I'm sorry. This isn't a knock on E. This is a knock on my trust for WWE. Knock on everybody's trust for WWE. Yeah, we had people in the chat being like, New Day is going to turn and join the Hurt Business. It's like, no. Big E's probably just going to cash it in, because at this point, if they don't deliver, then they're just screwed. You know? But E wins. Glad for him. New Day gets like a 10-second celebration. Glad for them. They will get a longer celebration on Monday's Raw, as that is one of the segments that has been announced. New Day celebrating Big E's championship victory. In addition, because again, we're hot-shotting, folks, they've already set up Roman Reigns and the Usos against the New Day.
We're building to Survivor Series, but not even in a way of like, hey, they might go in that direction.
We're just doing the match.
Just do the match already. And Big E already said, I'm going to fight Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. Literally said that tonight on Friday Night SmackDown. It was like,
I mean,
hey,
my God, it's one thing to shit all over Finn Balor, but you're shitting all over Brock Lesnar. And pal, you might not be fighting Roman Reigns at Survivor Series.
I mean, he technically did say, I'm going to fight your boy Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, but that is if he's still champion, because he's got to get through Brock Lesnar, and he also has to get through Finn Balor, so I might be fighting one of those two. But it is, I mean, you're putting it out there as, I'm going to fight him at that because he's going to beat both of them, and we all know it, that kind of deal.
Now, they could always swerve, and there is a pre-built story there with Lesnar if they wanted to go that route, but I still don't think Balor stands a chance.
Nope. And we'll talk about that next week, too. So then what other matches had been announced with the Raw thing that you were talking about?
So I believe I said most of them. They had announced, right before we got on the air, the New Day celebration, the Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy. Charlotte is going to be on Bliss's Playground. They're going to do the women's tag title match, and they're going to do Reigns and the Usos against the New Day. And that's all in addition to Shayna versus Nia. If they even go that route, and they haven't just scrapped it the way they've just been scrapping things lately.
Yeah, because it seems like at least one episode each week for months now has had at least one segment where it's like, I know that we announced this, but we're doing something else, and we're just not doing it at all. And it almost never seems like it's for a particular reason. Sometimes it clearly is, like Kushida was supposed to fight Roderick Strong for the Cruiserweight Championship. He ended up contracting COVID, if I remember correctly.
You talk too much. I can't wait to get into that.
The you talk too much thing has to be used in the next Botchamania, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Has to be.
So then switching over from the Monday Night Raw things over to NXT, we had what is called NXT 2.0, which I wrote up an article if you want to check it out, that it is not NXT 2.0, it is NXT 6.0.
I'm not going down this rabbit hole with you right now. But the fact that you've done this, when we last spoke, it was 5.0.
Yeah.
Not even the fact that you did that is crazy.
So the short of it is we had the first NXT season that was the the ECW is not a thing anymore. We're going to go with NXT. That's version 1.0. Then there's the true version 2.0, which is NXT Redemption.
Where it becomes a brand.
It's a brand with no titles and no purpose and no competition.
It's on WWE.com, and they're doing Tyson Kidd versus Yoshitatsu in a Yoshitatsu back trigger leg on a pole match.
Yeah, you got Tyler X and Kurt Hawkins and JTG and Derek Bateman, and nobody seems to have any purpose. Then you've got NXT at Full Sail. Then you've got the USA move, which was like, okay, we're rebranding things. It's going to be 2 hours. It's going to be live. All these big changes, and we're going to treat it like it's an actual third brand and have them fight Survivor Series. Then you've got version 5, which is the
Capital Wrestling Center.
switch over to the Capitol Wrestling Center, and now you've got NXT 6.
Well, for their purposes, they're only calling it NXT 2.
Because it's a lot easier to tell the simpletons that watch the show, according to the way that they, and it, I mean, some people are, that, oh, it's 2.0 because the last NXT is whatever. If you tell somebody it's NXT 6.0, people are going to go, holy fuck, you had 6 attempts at this and you haven't gotten anything better than that? I understand it. It's like when, and this is, here's a Fanboys Anonymous type of thing, I know, but look at some of these movies that have been happening recently. How many movies have had the exact same title because they're like, oh, it's too fucking complicated if we do anything else? Mm-hmm. What's the sequel to Suicide Squad? The Suicide Squad. Why couldn't you have called it Suicide Squad 2? Because then people will think that it's carrying over from the previous movie. And then you go, yeah, right. Well, does it carry over from the previous movie? Yeah, but it's like...
But like, not in a way that... Basically, they just wanted to get away from it because the previous movie sucked.
And then you get, like, they rebooted Halloween. And, look, those movies are not the best movies in the world. But I understand when they did the reboot of Halloween that they called it Halloween. But then they did Halloween again. And it's like, okay, so this is Halloween 2, but it's the third Halloween 2. Because it's a sequel to Halloween, but it's called Halloween. But Halloween 2 is the sequel to Halloween. But the reboot to Halloween was called Halloween. So there's 3 movies called Halloween. And one of them is the same movie, but the other one is the sequel, and it's not Halloween 2. And it's like, you just made it so much more confusing because you didn't want to tell people this was called, like, Halloween Revenge of, what's her face? Or something. Laurie Strode. Because they want to market it to the average, you know, my brain's so fried type of person, where it's like, it's just called Halloween. It's a movie on the franchise. Go fucking see it. So
let me rein you in a little bit because I do love when you rant, but we're gonna get lost in Halloween, and you got a wedding on Halloween that you need to get to. So, look, I'll be honest, I liked what I saw of NXT 2.0, except for one thing. They called it NXT. Call it anything else, and I think you got something really cool.
Because like WWE Splat?
See, that's where you run into the issue of, like, well, you want the brand of NXT, right? Because you want the NXT title, and you don't want to just reboot it, even though it feels like a Saturday morning. So I said this on Twitter. I felt like it belonged on Saturday morning. Yes, I said that because it was bright and vibrant. But, like, I know that doesn't mean that you can't do these things for adults on any night of the week. That just means I'd like to see the sunshine as I'm watching NXT, the high school reunion. Because, for God's sake, this looked like professional wrestling done at the max. If you don't know what I mean by the max, it's the little hangout place from Saved by the Bell. This really looked like it was just this, hey, we're pissed off, whoever we is, I don't know. We are pissed off that NXT was dark and gritty. We are going to do the opposite in every humanly way possible. Oh, it's even the microphone flag was white because it was like, no, everything's got to be different.
It felt like an overcorrection to me.
Complete overcorrection.
I get the idea that people said that the Cruiserweight Classic, the Capitol Wrestling Center, wow, the CWC, just my brain went flashback multiple years ago. But the CWC being too dark, I can understand why they would be like, okay, let's try to brighten it up a little bit. But then it just seems like this is almost like to spite. Like, okay, fine, then we're going to go super bright. We're going to have just paint splatter and everything's going to be white and everything's going to be bright and everything's going to be colorful and it's going to look like the set from No Holds Barred.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't get the vibes of, oh, they're just doing Dynamite. No. No, because Dynamite had the colorful splats and all that, but that was mostly just for the graphics. They didn't have the arena be a bright kind of hangout room for teenage. Honestly, that's the vibe I got. I got a hangout room for teenagers
In the
in the
90s.
80s, yeah, or
Like
even the
early
90s.
90s or so,
Yeah,
yeah.
like that's the vibe I got. And let me be clear, I love that shit.
Oh, I love
Like,
it too for Wild and Crazy Kids and Nickelodeon. You
yeah,
know?
like I love that.
If this is an episode of Double Dare, I'm totally fine for it.
We've talked openly. Like I sit around and just check out like Sonic the Hedgehog videos all day. You
Yeah.
know, like
I've
I'm
literally
not.
we talked about for the bonus features on Fanboys. We went through a tournament that I'm doing that I'm doing, but I'm a friend of mine is doing that I'm involved in on Facebook of just what's the best old Nickelodeon show, and people are having legitimate debates about what the fuck do you mean that Keenan and Kel is not better than Double Dare, you know, like that kind of thing. And there's a debate going on right now of whether or not David the Gnome is the saddest ending to a TV show. You know, like
Yeah,
pretty damn sad.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Yes, it is.
It's certainly up there as far as that goes. But I don't like this thing. Like, I'm okay with them saying that they want to switch up a couple things, but I'll say this until the day that I die. Change for the sake of change is not something that I am particularly that's appealing to me. Change for the better is always welcome. Change for the worse, almost never do I value the thing that's different for the sake of different over the fact that it was a downgrade. Like, I will never look at a scenario and say, well, I got a new TV, but I paid more money for it and it doesn't do what I want it to do. But hey, it's different and that matters more, so I like it. I'd always be like, my old TV was better and I shouldn't have
Right.
changed it. Like, upgrade things, don't downgrade things. I liked the other style of NXT better. I don't like this. I don't like the 2.0 thing. I'm waiting for them to just drop it. When I made the graphic for the weekly TV coverage, I'm like, yeah, I'm not using the 2.0 one. I'm just using the NXT part.
Why would you? Like,
because they're not going to eventually use the 2.0, and then I'd have to make another graphic, and I'm like, yeah, fuck that, I'm going to do that, you know. But like,
so I'll say this: I loved NXT. NXT was the best wrestling brand out there before AEW, and I think it's fucked up that of everything wrestling related, NXT went through the ringer, and like. Sure, I'm sure somebody out there says, "Oh, he's an apologist for, Triple H and whatever." It's like, no, legitimately, this brand got hot-shotted to TV so they could beat Dynamite to TV. Then they went up against Dynamite, and they beat him, I think, once or twice. But when the pandemic hit and it became abundantly clear that NXT no longer mattered because we're going to pillage half of your top dudes to go to the main roster because those numbers are floundering because of the pandemic, we need something there. And Dynamite gets to go, and we got Brody, and we got Matt Hardy, and we got the Revival are here, and we got Rusev, and we got like it wasn't fair. So to keep just going, oh well, NXT didn't work. Yeah, by the end, NXT was kind of bland, but NXT also went through a complete change. It was no longer about Matt Riddle and Keith Lee and Dominic Dijakovic and the Undisputed Era and the Velveteen Dream and come on. NXT went through the fucking ringer to the point where somebody probably said, let's just fucking reboot the whole thing because they couldn't just find their footing from where they had been. And I'll say this, not all of it was a miss. I understand what they're going for, but this show feels tailor-made for 1 hour.
this feels like this should have been the replacement for 205 Live.
Yeah.
A 1 hour bonus show just to give people some extra little bit of something. And instead it's the show. So it's like, that's why it rubs me the wrong way, because there are plenty of things on this episode that I did like. I'm not going to, we're going to talk specifics about that. There are a lot of things I do like on this, but it's not really necessarily because of any kind of a reboot or anything. It's just because some people are good, and, you know, good things are good. That kind of thing. So it's not like, you know, what's the phrase? The whole putting lipstick on a pig thing.
Yeah. We're not doing that here.
Yeah. I don't subscribe to the idea that I'm sure that a lot of people in WWE think a lot of people do subscribe to, because a lot of people do subscribe to it, of if you repackage something, that's at least going to fool some people into thinking it's something new and different. At the very least, it's going to pop a rating for 1 week or two. But the more that you convince somebody that you've made a change, even if it's the most superfluous change in the world, if it looks like there's a change, people are going to think there's a change. You can see it in every type of marketing. Why do you think that Pizza Hut, back in the day, tried to become the Hut? It's because they wanted to make themselves seem cool. Why did they go back to being Pizza Hut? Because they realized that the most people that like Pizza Hut are people like me, where I'm like, man, I miss going to Pizza Hut when I was a little kid because nostalgia was fun and I like Pizza Hut. And that was, so it's like, oh, remember how you used to have
a
this?
Very distinctive pizza look and taste.
And if I want pizza, most of the time I don't want Pizza Hut, because it's very buttery and it's very thick and it's very doughy. But if I want doughy, thick pizza, or if I want to just have my fruit punch, which that's the best drink to have when you eat pizza, if I just want my fruit punch and I want to remember a time frame when I used to eat a personal pan pizza and my life was better, I'm going to want Pizza Hut. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if, what's his face from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and from The Office, Craig Robinson?
Yeah.
If he's telling me no one out pizzas the Hut, I'm like, yeah, I don't fucking care. Can I have regular pizza with pepperoni and a little light on the sauce, please?
I will say their Detroit style pizza looked very uncomfortable too. Like, it looked unsettlingly bad. It looked like school pizza. Like, it looked. I like Pizza Hut for what they do, but that commercial did not make it look appetizing. But carry on.
I will put my foot in the ground. I know Papa John's is never going to sponsor us, but Pizza Hut, if you sponsor Smark Out Moment, I will sing many, many praises, because that's old school.
I'd sing your praises too, but not for that pizza.
But that's what people do with different things. You know, Mickey D's changes its thing from over to that, and they switch up the way that the outside looks, and you know, every single type of logo change that we've seen over the years. Look at what DC Universe was. Remember? DC had like 5 logos over the past couple of years, because they're just, these brands are trying to find, is any of this going to stick? Is any of it going to be the type of thing that makes people go, this is a brand that I want to attach to myself? Because people attach brands to themselves, and people do it all the fucking time.
And
whether you set it up for them or not. That's why you get people that do the whole, you're an AEW apologist or you're a WWE shill, and you're like, how about I like the good things?
Like wrestling, bitch. Like,
I like the good things and I don't like the bad things. It doesn't mean that I need to be Marvel or DC. It doesn't need to, I'm not the type of person.
Get very serious about Marvel versus DC.
A lot of people are like, I'd rather wear a t-shirt that says Old Navy on it than one that says The Gap. And I'm like, how much did you fucking pay for the shirt?
I think I think at this point, Marvel is better at the branding, and that's why WWE is trying to be Marvel, because Marvel's pretty good at the branding.
And even then, if you guys are into pro wrestling stuff and you're on this channel, but you're into the stuff that we would have over on the Fanboys Anonymous stuff, like you're into more comic book discussion, I'm not following the comics in that kind of a way, but I can tell you right now, Marvel Knights, different type of thing than Marvel. the Ultimate Universe, different thing than Marvel, but it's rebranding is something that is just like a matter of fact. And WWE felt like the way to get out of this rut with NXT was to present it as we're doing something different. And I guarantee you, at least one person, whoever it is, I don't know who's controlling different marketing departments and stuff, but I bet you somewhere in the same discussion that people have when it comes to like, okay, well, we need to say first time ever for such and such because that'll work on people. And we need to make sure that we advertise this on Twitter because we need to bump up our Twitter numbers and whatever. All these marketing departments. I guarantee you somebody along the way said, we're going to go with this. Not everybody's going to like it. But at least we're doing something and that makes me feel better. And if they don't like it, we can change.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's true and it's not true. It's true in the sense they have proven they will just change it eventually if it's not working. And they'll just repackage it as another thing, but they're not going to repackage it as NXT 3.0. 100%. Guaranteed, come back to this in the future. They will not say NXT 3.0. They will say something else. It's going to be just a new era in NXT, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they'll do that eventually when they realize that this isn't necessarily working the way that they thought it would. And they'll act like, instead of being like, okay, well, we failed, let's fix it, they're going to act like we're moving on to a better thing. And aren't we making progress and aren't we making change? Because that's a reworking of your perspective of things. In some ways, it's very admirable. And in some ways, it's very delusional. It's that whole happiness is what you make of it type of thing. WWE is notoriously stubborn of, we didn't make mistakes. We just learned how we're going to do a good thing in the future. And then you go, yeah, but you didn't. Over and over and over and over.
Disgustingly cringe.
But it's true, isn't it?
It's 100% true, but knowing that is such a cringy fact. Like,
it's the same argument as what you hear from when they say, well, it's long-term storytelling, and then when you go, yeah, but it didn't work, and then they go, yeah, because plans changed. And then it's like, but you just took us on a ride and went nowhere. We're not going to be happy that we drove around and didn't end up at a destination just because you promised us another destination. And they go, yeah, but aren't you going to be interested in the next ride? And then it's like, no, damn it. Like, you know, I don't care how many things you show me on the menu of what an interesting meal is. Eventually I'm going to be like, hey, look, can I fucking eat? Like, you know,
yes.
Come on, Pizza Hut, give me some food. But as far as a general idea about NXT 2.0, no, sir, I didn't like it. To call back on an old TV show from Nickelodeon.
I'm not going to say that. I did, because I understand what they're doing. Like, there's a lot that I didn't like, namely the wedding, just because I don't know what the hell the end game is there.
We'll definitely talk about that.
But I love the way the show started off.
So it starts off with Bronson Rechsteiner, who we had thought was going to be named Rechsteiner, which is the most perfect name you can possibly go for him, to the point where I said, oh shit, why didn't I think of this? It is literally perfect. Your dad was Rechsteiner as well, and they turned it into Rick Steiner. And you can't just be Rick Steiner Jr., because then it's like, oh, no, what the hell? But Rechsteiner.
Rechsteiner.
It is fucking brilliant.
Why
and they introduce him as Bron Breakker. And I go, who the fuck is what? Why is this Mojo Rawley looking guy named Bron Breakker?
He fucking looks like his father. He looks so much like his father. If he had the headgear on, I'd have just said, oh my god, they turned back the clock and Rick Steiner's in the ring.
See, I don't think he looks face-wise as much like his father.
And he sounds like them. He sounds exactly like them. In about 3 weeks, they're going to have him cutting promos on math. And you're going to go, oh my god, how have we not done this?
Well, he starts the show challenging LA Knight to a match, and for some reason, LA Knight accepts.
That was dumb.
I don't understand that booking at all, because to me, LA Knight should not be willing to do that. He should be like, I've got a title match later on tonight. No, maybe next week, you schlub. And then somebody else fights him or something. Or Breaker just fights somebody else. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe Breaker gets to the spot that we'll talk about later on. But it starts off with Bron Breaker, I hate the name so much, defeating LA Knight by pinfall, which is an interesting start.
And at this point, Tony, I texted you, I texted everybody, I said, give him the belt tonight. Do it tonight, because if you're going to hotshot somebody, you hotshot the kid who's got a legit background and is the son of Rechsteiner and the nephew of Big Papa Pump. Do it. Of course they didn't.
Yeah. The next match was Imperium beating Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. So the interesting things to this, number one, Josh Briggs, they just wiped it clean. He's a babyface now. He's a good old Southern country boy type of thing.
Do you remember when Josh Briggs had long hair?
Yeah.
And looked like he was going to fucking murder everybody?
Yep.
What happened?
Now he just looks like Guy.
That's the most concerning thing to me.
Very disappointing how that has been working out.
Yeah, Bron Breakker, Brooks Jensen, and now Josh Briggs, just by his presentation, look like the second coming of the Michael McGillicuddies and the Lucky Cannons,
Jacob Novak and
the bland, boring Guy. Here is Guy Russell.
I don't know why they think that that's like, who is it in WWE that has this mentality that is very, we need to have over the top characters, but we also need to have people that have zero character whatsoever. Because you cannot look talented and everything. Like we've been saying about Josh Briggs from back with the Evolve show of, hey, WWE should sign this guy. This guy seems like he could be something. So this is not,
he'll be somebody tomorrow.
This is not a knock on Josh Briggs, but how can you look at Josh Briggs the way that he's presented here and think, oh, well, that's like, Macho Man Randy Savage, or that's like, some over the top like Undertaker or whatever. And you don't need to go so far over the top to get into Undertaker and Ultimate Warrior territory, but like, there's a difference. Like, there's a big gap between those two. Brooks Jensen? Who the fuck's Brooks Jensen? Guy. That's all he is Guy. He's apparently Bull Buchanan's kid.
Wrestles. Are you kidding me?
And it's like, okay, you don't have to call him like Ben Buchanan or Brooks Buchanan.
Call him Bull anything.
It could have been Bull Jensen. It could have been a
little too close to Bull Dempsey.
No, bring him back. Why not? But like, if they want to say that he's the son of Bull Buchanan, they can, name him something based off of that and just trademark the name. If you want to make sure you trademark the name, just trademark the name. Like, you could have trademarked Rechsteiner. Why not? And then he wouldn't have been able to use it elsewhere if that's what you're worried about. Then you would own Rechsteiner, which is the perfect name for him. And then it wouldn't have been an issue. Why purposely give them a name that sucks more that you want to trademark? And then when it comes to like Brooks Jensen, like, I don't know, we've heard this story before about the WrestleMania marquee. Oh, would you ever see Doink the Clown at the main event of WrestleMania? Oh, maybe, whatever, that kind of thing.
I could Doink the Clown a lot more than Brooks Jensen, quite frankly.
Right. Is it going to be like the marquee says Brooks Jensen versus whatever? And yeah, he might be a fantastic wrestler. He might be my favorite wrestler in a year for all I fucking know. But Brooks Jensen sounds like it could be literally anything. It could be like the next person that gets called in the waiting room. Mr. Jensen, Brooks Jensen, the doctor's ready to see you. Like, that doesn't come out as like Hulk Hogan and, whatever the fuck. Like, and they lose. Of course, people were going like, oh, Briggs and Jensen are going to win. They're going to be Imperium, and the whole night's going to be new person beats old person.
I did think for 5 seconds that that's what we were getting.
I thought that that's what we were getting too. So I was glad to see that that wasn't the case, because they can lose. Who cares? You know?
Yeah.
B-Fab had her first match. Did you know that she
No,
could do
sir.
what she did?
No, sir, I did not like it.
She didn't have a long match against Katrina Cortez.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Uh,
I'm very, very worried, Tony. It looks like they're going back to the Divas era. No, let me cut myself off right there. I have a lot of friends who love themselves some divas. But let's be real, it looks like they're going back to the Divas in the worst way possible. I saw a 2-minute match that ended with a standard neck breaker and a sloppy one at that. Blah blah blah. I don't get in the ring. Look, I'm just trying to cover my bases here for all criticisms. I don't like it.
Yep, didn't like it either.
I like BFAB. I like the name BFAB because that's part of where I think, look, we do need to get some characters back.
Yeah, that is more of a character.
I'm all for that.
But then you get the match, and the match is what the match was, and you go, well, goddamn, here we are again with the whole, this person can wrestle, but they've got no character. This person's got character, but they can't wrestle. And you're like, that urge to merge, man. You know, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
We had some stuff with setting up the upcoming wedding. Odyssey Jones, Cameron Grimes, Johnny Gargano, a returning Austin Theory, who he's like, look who I brought. I brought a priest. Damian Priest. You can't have a wedding without a priest. Fucking great. Loved that. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Austin Theory, man, he's been like, I want that kid to succeed. Like, succeed. I want that kid fucking main eventing WrestleMania, winning the championship.
Yeah, I'll expand my thoughts on that, and we're talking about the wedding.
Carmelo Hayes had an interview where he was talking about the title shot that he has for winning the NXT Breakout Tournament, and he introduced his new partner, his buddy, his friend, his good old pal, whatever you want to call it.
Trick Williams.
Trick Williams is his name, Matrick Belton's new name, and Trick Williams immediately steals the show and is just like, hey,
I have charisma. Like,
hey, Carmelo, the fuck you doing not being a badass and everything? You just keep being humble, and what the hell, man?
Yeah, what are you doing not being a dick? Like,
right? And it's like, did we just get somebody convinced to turn heel by saying, here's my friend and he's a dick? Like, but it's weird because it works out, and out of all things, Duke Hudson, who's a heel, comes out and says, yeah, you got lucky against me in the tournament, and they beat him down. And it's like, now we've got this heel and face turn list on the website that I know people are always questioning, you know, whether or not somebody turned heel, whether or not whatever. Most of the time it ends up being this thing where I have to keep repeating the same argument of, just because a heel beats down another heel does not mean that either of them turned babyface. It's something that a lot of people don't quite understand until it ends up like the next couple of weeks play out, and then they go, oh yeah, okay, you're still heel. But, you know, we've had instances in the past where like John Morrison and The Miz have broken up and they go to separate brands and they're both heels on separate brands. Yeah, none of them turned babyface in the process. Here's a scenario, though, I don't remember the last time that we've seen where somebody was a babyface at the start of an interview, introduced a partner, the partner was a heel, and then they beat down a heel to turn heel.
Right now, I like it. I like Carmelo. I like Trick Williams. They both got charisma up the ass. That's what you need in NXT 2.0. That's what you need in WWE as soon as possible. I'm hopeful with these two.
I like the idea of watching this tag team grow. So this gets a thumbs up from me for sure. And that makes me kind of go, okay, well then we don't know who is really going to be the target for this title shot, but it could be the tag team titles. And that's pretty cool. I like that. I've been saying for the longest time, I think Money in the Bank should be potentially any championship.
And I think you're wrong. And I think you're dead wrong.
Even though I don't think there's going to be many scenarios where that would make sense. But with this, the NXT breakout thing, you can challenge for any of the championships. That includes the tag team titles. So it's another way of doing that. We got Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter beat Gigi Dolan and JC Jane by DQ because there was interference by Mandy Rose, who... Did you know that when you get kicked in the face, it makes you brunette?
No, 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 no. No. There, oh, the new NXT and the new Mandy Rose. Oh, this is so you. Oh, I'm thinking, oh boy, she's with Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, who are doing a very like punk rock meets 80s vibe. And I'm like, okay, she's gonna have jet black hair and she's gonna kind of look like your emo goth girl. She dyed her hair brunette.
Yeah.
Brown hair, guys. She's got chocolate colored hair. And she must have teased her hair look 10 times while on camera. Just constantly grabbing the hair. Oh, this is the new Mandy. It's like she looks like I'm sorry. She looks like less of a star. She is wrestling in generic black like training gear, just like the top and these shorts, and she's got brunette hair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, cool. By the way, the name of the group is Toxic Attraction.
Toxic Attraction, huh?
I like the name. Mandy needs to fit the mold for that name. Also, Cora Jade can probably join that group.
Surprised that she didn't to begin with.
Yeah, Mandy's brunette.
I have to add Toxic Attraction to my handy dandy list of tag teams for this year. That's why you're hearing me type this.
Handy dandy Mandy list of tag teams.
Handy dandy Mandy, Candy Pandy Sandy, something or other. I don't know.
Ain't life dandy.
Fine and dandy like sour candy. Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane beat Saray, Casey, and Kaden by pinfall after that. And yeah, she's brunette. So it's like, oh, pretty girl still looks pretty, but now she's brunette.
Honestly, she looks like my dad's in the mafia. But speaking of mafia,
we'll get to him in a couple segments. So William Regal then told Mackenzie Mitchell Kyle O'Reilly had been attacked during the previous segment, and he's medically not cleared to compete in the Fatal 4-Way. So he's going to be replaced by Von Wagner, which was like, huh? Like, not to crap on Cal Bloom, but it was just sort of, wait, what?
I would have lost my mind if a descendant of the Beverly Brothers won the NXT Championship randomly.
And as we said, it's Von Wagner, not Wagoner. So that's good.
Von Wagner is a fine name.
It's very Van Wilder,
It's very like, I feel like he should have a monocle.
Yeah. It's like, hello, boy, I'm Chesterfield Von Wagner. Kind of thing. He's got lemonade on the porch. That sort of deal.
Yeah.
A couple of bags full of cash.
Von Wagner.
It's probably great at Monopoly. Von Wagner. Maybe he uses a little wagon. This is one of those things. I like using the thimble.
I'm a fan of the boot.
Boot's a pretty solid one. The little dog's good too. I like the dog. Leave a comment below. What do you use in Monopoly? Do you just like do some kind of weird thing where you use like the pieces from Clue? You're like, I'm the candlestick. That kind of deal.
Von Wagner also sounds like a character in Clue.
Yeah. Like Von Wagner passed go and whacked somebody in the conservatory. So Ridge Holland beat up Drake Maverick. It seems like Drake Maverick and Grayson Waller are going to be a tag team going forward now that they continued it more than 1 week. Then we got a vignette for, hey, yo, it's Tony D'Angelo. I fucking eat the same kind of shit that you eat because I'm from New York and New Jersey. And
he's from Chicago.
I'm from Chicago. Yeah, it's just a fucking deep dish pizza.
I got the goo.
Yeah, woke up some morning, got some gabagool, that kind of. Look, not only am I Italian, and not only do I find that kind of shit fun, but it's a character. And it's like, all right, this has nothing to do with pro wrestling at this point yet. But the fact that he was just sort of like, I mean, as close to stereotypical as you could possibly get with a lot of things. I'm waiting for him to just be like, I'm going to introduce a part of my own. It's Joey Bag of Donuts. Like, you know, that kind of thing. There's a guy, Dom Irera, who did a great series of jokes, this Italian comedian, where he was like, you know, everybody has some kind of a name like that. It's all like Frankie Scangili and Muscles Marinara and all this. Like,
Muscles Marinara is totally going to be his bodyguard.
What do you think about Tony D'Angelo, Joe Ariola's character?
You know, so at this point, I'm like, you know, I like it. Feels like it's Saturday morning, but it's bright, it's vibrant, it's okay. As soon as I saw that promo, I said, we're in the 80s now, and this belongs on Saturday morning. This felt like, all right, we'll be right back to World Wrestling Federation Superstars. Hey, yo, I'm Tony D'Angelo, and I've come to the World Wrestling Federation to smack you in the mouth. It's like, okay.
This is very like, I want him to go full blown. I want all of his maneuvers to be named stupid, silly things. Like, I don't want them to say that he just beat somebody. I want them to say that he just whacked someone. I want them to be like, you know, he got him like you know, he did him in like they would have done him in at the restaurant in The Godfather, like that kind of thing. Like,
the finisher has to be sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah, just do that. Do those kind of things. Make it so far past the point that you have to laugh at it, kind of deal.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
I mean, the Creed brothers beat Dan Harmon or Dan Jarman. Dan Harmon's the guy who made Community. That'd be great if they just did that. Dan Harmon ends up popping up and he's just kind of like, you know, season 4 didn't have me in it. And they're like, fucking toss him around. And Trevor Skelly, they did the Creed brothers thing, you know. I know a lot of people are really super into him. I still want more character than Tony, just, you know, those guys.
I've explained this to you. They are two brothers who are trust fund babies who have a cocaine addiction. And
well, it is the 80s apparently again.
And are just hyped up and dropping people on their heads. I like it. I'm fine with it.
Malcolm Bivens introduced officially the newest member of the Diamond Mine, which is Ivy Nile, Emily Anzulis, which we had seen a week or two ago or so, training in the back behind like another thing. So she's official. And Kushida came out, said that everybody's talking too much, and he's going to fight Roderick Strong for that Cruiserweight Championship that they had planned.
I thought that they were just going to do it right there, just to make up for the fact that Frankie and Raquel were going to fight.
I figured that wouldn't be the case because they didn't announce it at a time and they want to announce everything. But it's very curious why they didn't do the women's match.
At first I thought it was like maybe a COVID exposure, and now I'm just like, maybe they just decided, yeah, no, let's just do it because we can.
I think that it's because the title's changing hands. And they knew that they were going to have the NXT Championship changing hands, and they knew that they needed to do that. So they said, why would we have 2 title changes in one night? Let's just milk this for an extra week.
Why wouldn't you want 2 title changes in the same night when you're doing, it's the new NXT?
Because if you can carry it on to next week, then look at that. Every week there's going to be something like this, everybody, and then the third week nothing happens. But you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, next week I think Roderick Strong is winning.
So next week they do have the Cruiserweight Championship match. That's right. So then maybe they wait another week after that to do the women's one. Maybe this next week they go with this whole idea of why did it get pushed back? Well, you know what? Next week we're going to have that match, that kind of deal. 3 weeks in a row, title changes.
You know what? Roderick Strong looks like an idiot. Why wouldn't Roderick go, Regal, what the fuck? I have been on this brand for how many years? I have been in main events. I have been in War Games. I've done this. Put me in the NXT title match. He looks dumb for going, I want the Cruiserweight one. You know, that one? The one that people rarely talk about? I want that one.
Maybe he figures if he wins that, nobody's going to challenge for him because it's not really much of a division anymore.
Well, I don't know, but I would have preferred to see him in that main event over Von Wagner, even though, truth be told, Von Wagner held his own.
So that main event was Von Wagner, LA Knight, Pete Dunne, and the winner of the NXT Championship, Tommaso Ciampa.
Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? I said they need comfort. Because when you're telling people that, everything around you is changing, you gotta have that one comforting element that's like, but not so much. There's still this safety blanket. Tommaso Ciampa is the safety blanket for NXT right now.
So I thought Pete Dunne was going to win the number one contender spot. And then I thought that Pete Dunne would just win the championship. And I'm like, oh, let's just skip to that. I didn't think that they'd end up going with Ciampa.
I thought Von Wagner was going to be like a red herring. And he would just jump whoever and go, yeah, I'm with you, Pete. And help Pete win. Because honestly, why Von Wagner?
Well, see, that's where I was thinking, okay, I think that they could potentially go with this Von Wagner just to be like, oh my God, and the new champion is this new guy. Oh, wow, this really is like a big change. But I kind of figured maybe that's there to convince people that they're going to do that. Like, it's just to fake everybody out. So I pretty much ruled Von Wagner out. Then I thought, all right, LA Knight, they did the thing earlier in the night. That hasn't stopped them in the past from doing something where somebody's lost a match earlier and then they've won the championship later. They've done it with Jericho. They've done it with Orton, whatever it might be. So it's a possibility, but I don't think so. And then it's either Ciampa or it's Dunne. And between the two, I just figured they like heel champions better. So they'll probably go with Dunne. But going with Ciampa is kind of like, all right, well, we can't have Joe play that veteran role. Let's go with Ciampa.
Yeah, I like it because he's the last of a dying breed, right? Like the pillars of NXT. Because yeah, Gargano is there, but Gargano is not the same Johnny Gargano from 2 years ago, who was like wearing Wolverine gear in the main event of Takeover against Adam Cole. Gargano's in a completely different role. Ciampa is the best person to hold this belt right now. And I think that I feel like we can skip to this because this is outside the wedding. Braun Breaker confronted him at the end of the night. And I like the idea of let's hotshot this title to Braun Breaker because he impressed me and he looks like fun.
But do you want to do that and run the risk of people going, oh, who's this guy? I don't fucking like him. He's the next Roman Reigns.
I don't give a shit. Roman Reigns is great.
Yeah, but it took people years to come around to that.
Yeah, it didn't take me years to come around to that.
So I'd be worried about that with Breaker, of just being like, all right, the fans are just going to turn on him, and then they're not going to give him a chance. I think that that's not going to be the type of thing that, like, I don't expect Ciampa to come out next week and Breaker to be like, I'm going to fight you for the championship. I think that that's more so them being like, look, this is our John Cena shook the Undertaker's hand kind of deal. We know we like this guy. We know we're going to push him. Keep an eye on him, everybody. We like him.
Carmelo is the guy who I think is going to get the John Cena. I think they like Carmelo a lot. I see shades of what happened with John, but he needs to continue to elevate his game. Braun Breaker could be an easy guy to build things around because you can go, look, you're legit. If you ever start to feel nervous, just go with what you know. You know?
So between those two segments, there was a little thing called a wedding. The Index wedding had a couple hiccups.
Yeah. As to be expected with wrestling weddings.
Or any weddings in general. Sometimes it's going to be like, the linen isn't the same color as whatever. And sometimes people try to break up the wedding in the middle of it, like a pro wrestling thing or something. But all things considered, this may be like the only wedding that they've had where it actually just ended up being okay at the end,
And they get married. This was fun.
It was completely not pro wrestling and just terrible
Tickle
scripted
butt.
whatever, this kind of stuff, but it was fun because of how it was like, all right, let's just get a little bit of downtime to just like relax a little bit, you know?
And we're gonna do the trope. Just kidding. The wedding's gonna happen, and we're gonna do the trope. And just kidding. Like I enjoyed that because as they ask in every wedding, if you have any reason why these two should not be married, please speak now for hold your peace. Everybody raises their hand, and Dexter Lumis pulls open his jacket to go, and not a gun, but he's got an axe.
Yeah.
He's got an axe. And everybody just quietly puts their hands down. And I just thought that was great. And then they're going on with it. And Andre Chase just goes, somebody say Andre Chase University? Like, and I'm waiting for it to be like, okay, what's the swerve here? Because it is a wedding. And Odyssey Jones just sort of lightly pushes Andre Chase back down in his chair, even though it's supposed to be like he's choking him.
But you can't say choke, remember?
That's right. And then it's where are the rings? And Ikemenjiro has the rings.
Well, even before that, what's great is Austin Theory's like, we're in the ring. Jiro's got the rings, and Austin Theory's like, that's my guy.
That's my guy. That's my guy. It's like, what? And then all that happens. Indy pours her heart out. Talks about how you're my freak. I remember that time you snuck into my room while Johnny and Candace were sleeping.
Which implies that they've been staying at their house. That it's this whole family gimmick. It's like that they're just bunking with them.
They literally just live with them. They're their children. And the creepy guy crawled through the window and had freaky sex with Indy Hartwell. All right. And
Dexter Lumis, what do you have to say? Thumbs up.
And the place goes nuts. And the priest, who's got some balls on him, is just like, no, you gotta pour your heart out. She just poured her heart out to you. You gotta say something. And of course, the priest gets choked out. What are we gonna do now? And I'm thinking, okay, this is where Johnny steps in. This is where we get an issue. Beth Phoenix, who has been gushing over them on commentary, gets up and does the rest of the wedding.
Which was a swerve I did not see coming because they started originally going with, hey, Regal, you do it. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. William Regal's the general manager. This makes sense. And he's just sort of like, no. So when Beth comes out, I'm like...
By the way, behind Regal is zombie referee, just like, still just there.
Yeah. I gotta give him credit for it. It's absolutely fucking stupid. But I thought it was great.
It's a good wedding, and it all leads to Dexter saying, I do.
And people go nuts again because they're like, he talked.
He fucking said words.
It's been like 2.5 years or so, and he finally talked.
And it's all good. Where the fuck do you go from here?
I have no fucking idea. I do think that there's a chance that Johnny Gargano goes up to the main roster. I think that could be a matter of contract negotiation as well, where it could be like, look, we want to sign you to a deal. We're going to give you a bigger deal, but it has to be a main roster deal. We can't sign you for main roster money on NXT. Let's bring you up to Raw, that kind of deal. I do think that there's a chance that we could get some kind of a thing where it's like, all right, well, now that I'm going up to Raw, I can trust that you're going to watch over Indy and I'm going to give her away kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, Austin Theory is definitely going because he posted on social media, thank you to The Way and thank you to Johnny for everything. Now it's time for me to go to that next chapter.
Which could be not necessarily that he is going to Raw or SmackDown. It could be that Johnny Gargano is going up and he's going to be by himself in NXT, you know? There's a lot of ways that this could work
It could
out.
be, but Austin Theory is the one that's been doing dark matches every week.
Right. He has been doing that, so there is a good chance that he comes back
And Austin
up to...
Theory was the one in the Raw Tag Team Championship match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Last year.
Right. But I have no idea where they go from here, because then it's just like, all right, are they just a couple now? You know, okay. I don't know what you can get out of it, but I'm interested. They got me hooked.
Again, good show. Just really bland in some ways.
If you did this exact same show and you didn't call it NXT 2.0 and you didn't make the set look like that, and you didn't have the paint splatter and all that, I would have thought that it would have been a better show.
Side note, I've been pitching and I've been asking for a complete overhaul like that to Raw or SmackDown for years. And the best we ever get is like, and here's an updated logo.
We've got this robot flying around the screen right now.
Like, I want a full overhaul like that for both Raw and SmackDown. I guess dreamers can dream, though.
I got nothing for NXT UK.
I got a couple things. First of all, Noam Dar is going to the finals of that tournament. He's going to fight
Wolfgang
or Wolfgang. Who do you think wins this tournament?
I had originally thought that the next champion was going to be Jordan Devlin, so that kind of throws that all off, but now I'm thinking it's Teoman.
Yeah, me too. And I'm thinking he wins it.
I think he beats Bate, yeah.
Next week, Nathan Frazier, Rampage Brown, and A-Kid in a three-way to determine the next challenger for Dragon Eve. Who do you think wins?
I think Brown wins and Dragunov beats him.
My main problem with this was that Brown is the only one that looked and acted like a grown man during this segment.
Yeah. And he beat the shit out of the other two too.
He
so
beat the shit out of the other two, and A-Kid, like, he snubs Frazier and tries to walk out of the ring, and Frazier's like, no, get back here. You're not going to disrespect me like that. And A-Kid goes, hey guys, hold on a minute. Like, what the? You're all going to fight for a title shot. What are you doing?
Yeah, let those two beat the crap out of each other and give you an edge, you know?
Yeah, like.
And Brown's just kind of like, I'll flatten you now, I guess, you know? There's a chance, though, that this ends up getting booked where it's like A-Kid steals a victory and then Brown starts turning heel or something out of it, or, you know?
I'd be all right with seeing Rampage and Ilya because they're good, you know, and they'll beat the shit out of each other and it'll be a good match. One more thing, Charlie Dempsey.
Oh, that's right. That was that. Charlie Dempsey is the new ring name for Bailey Matthews, the son of Darren Matthews, who you may or may not know is William Regal.
Darren Matthews. I like it.
I don't like the name Charlie Dempsey. I still think that they should have gone with something with the name Regal and just go with it.
Well, they're clearly in an era of Husky Harris and Michael McGillicuddy.
Yeah.
They ain't going with shit. I like the promo. He wants to ground people. He's not here for all that high-flying bullshit. He's William Regal's son. And you can clearly tell he was probably raised in America.
Yeah.
Because he does not have an accent.
I wonder how he says war games.
And be like, war games.
Yeah.
It's not that. You know what? Quick aside. It's not the same. Undisputed Era is not going to be here. I don't want war games.
I mean, we can kind of assume that we're probably going to get it. Because the likelihood that we're not going to get another takeover event by the end of the year is very, very slim. And
I think we're going to get it. And I think it's going to be Legado del Fantasma and Hit Row. And they'll just merge the men and women. Electric and fight BFAB. And
I hope that they don't do that.
You heard it here first if it happens.
I originally had thought that there might have been a chance that they would do something with like Harland and Dunn, but they got rid of Lurkin and Birch, so Not going to do that again. Huh.
Yeah, they don't have any real factions right now, do they?
Maybe it's not going to be a faction type thing, and it's just going to be 5 against 5 or 4 against 4, just random stuff.
Or Dexter and his axe against everybody.
All the people that said that they had something to say about the wedding.
Yeah, just literally everybody.
Moving over to NXT, or no, not NXT UK. Moving over to Friday Night SmackDown. It seems like we're going to get Apollo Crews against Shinsuke Nakamura for the IC title again.
It doesn't seem like it. They announced it.
Did they announce when that's going to be?
Next week.
Oh. Huh. Okay. I saw that he had...
What happened to the IC title? Outside of Apollo and Big E, I haven't seen a single match announced for a pay-per-view in months. Why?
Because you gotta make room for Liv Morgan against Carmella.
I'm okay with it.
I'm not. Again, we'll talk more about it next week. This
was
a very
women's matches on the card.
Yeah, but they could make anything that's worthwhile. Like, they could have not fought 100 times, and they could make it a gimmick, and they could do something, you know?
Fair
Instead
enough.
of just, it's a match that you would normally skip on SmackDown.
I think it's going to be a Lumberjill.
If it's something, at least that's something. But they need a hook. They can't just be like, it's Morgan against Carmella, and then all the people that gush over it in the Twitter feed just being like, oh my God, Queen Morgan, she's on a pay-per-view, and this makes it so much better, and I stand that. And I'm like,
Well, to be fair, I said similar things about Big E. I love Big E, but you can't say that was well thought out just because you like Big E.
Yeah, just because you like Liv Morgan. And I like Liv Morgan. I like Carmella. But
Carmella's great.
That's not something that I'm super hyped to watch another match between the two that has nothing going for it other than, well, don't you like them? Because we've had this discussion a million times of, yeah, but it doesn't mean I want to waste my time.
That they'd be put into a cage match because she said, I'm going to make sure you can't run. And I'm going to make sure that you look as ugly on the outside as you are on the inside. But they haven't been booking these women strong enough for cage matches. You know what I mean?
And it's really low effort too. Like, they could have done more to make her run away from things. And
yeah, she literally took a bump and was like, my nose is broken. It was like, what happened?
And that means that they have done 3 broken nose things. They got one on Raw, one on NXT, and one on SmackDown.
Somebody must have broke their nose backstage.
Just like how last year, apparently the running theme was eyeball, you know? This year it's broken nose.
Huh.
So, a lot of just pointless stuff on this episode. Sami Zayn beats Dominic. Baron Corbin attacks Owens before they even had a match.
Why are they going with Ray as a heel?
He wasn't doing anything really like heel.
Oh, he absolutely was. Did you have your sound off?
I mean, I wasn't paying the most amount of attention, but
he's legitimately like, this kid fast. Like, they're doing the you're gonna be a heel because you're an overbearing father gimmick, and I just I can't see Ray turning heel on anything.
I don't know. I don't think that read to me as him being a heel. It's more so just tension.
Oh,
because we know they're gonna feud. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, at this point, it should just happen at Mania.
You want to wait like 9 months? I don't want to fucking do that.
You know for a fact, we've been friends long enough now, Tony. By this point of the year, fucking save the good shit for Mania. Just like,
see, honestly, I don't want to do any of that anymore. They've proven that they can't do it. We had this discussion last year. We had it the year before with Rollins and Owens, and even more so with Bray Wyatt. Well, Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, where I went for months saying it's going to get dragged out to WrestleMania. It's going to fucking suck. And everybody's like, oh, come on. Of course it needs to be a Mania. You have to play off something like that at Mania.
No. When the Rollins and Owens stuff, I'm like, okay, cool. This is a fine feud for TLC. And we can get something else for Mania. I did not think they would drag that out till Mania. The Orton Wyatt stuff, they didn't, and they burned him alive, and then they're like, oh, I guess we're just gonna do that. Hindsight 2020 should just burn him alive and have that be the end.
Yeah, because it sucked. Absolutely sucked.
Because the ending was worse, and the burning alive thing would have been a pretty cool way to do it off TV. Yep. By the way, where's Elias?
Yeah.
No, but in a case like Ray versus Dominic, you save that for Mania.
I don't know where they could do it in the meantime that would mean anything all that much, but I kind of don't want to have another month after month after month of Dominic loses and Ray's just kind of like, come on, son. You know, just kind of like cut to the chase eventually. Kane had honored Bianca Belair. You know, it's the big Knoxville homecoming type of thing. And
awkward.
Yeah, we got Mayor Kane coming out of the ring doing that. And it just ends up with Becky Lynch hitting a Uranagi.
All right. I'm getting tired of saying it. She's dumb. Bianca is dumb. She gets more dumb every week. There is something to be said for being the honorable babyface. But you're dumb. Hit her. Hit her in the face. What are you doing? Like, why are you letting her disrespect you? Hit her in the face. Again and again and again. Whip her with your hair. Kick her in the ribs. Take that cardboard key Kane gave you and stab her with it. Like, do something.
I was thinking that they were going to use that as a prop. Somebody would hit somebody with it. And they didn't. It's Uranagi and that's it. The manhandle slam. All right, whatever. You know? But it ends and it's like, all right, that's the end of SmackDown. And then the local news comes on and I'm like, wait, it's a fucking end? Like, wait, what?
Yep.
What do you mean you're advertising, you want to get tickets to SmackDown or whatever or something and, somebody gets shot in the face in Philly or whatever the fuck, it's just kind of like, okay, well, it's 10 o'clock, moving on, that kind of deal.
And then, I guess we can talk about AEW.
Yep, moving over to AEW side of things. We had on Dynamite, we had Adam Cole's first match, and it's against Frankie Kazarian.
He's the best wrestler in the world. I love him.
You talking about Cole or Kazarian?
Adam Cole, obviously.
Just to be sure. I don't know. Pronouns, pal, right?
Kazarian's great, but Adam Cole's the best in the world.
So Cole's got that going on. The Super Click is going to end up facing Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage. That's going to be a fun match. Interested in that. A lot of stuff getting set up for Rampage and Dynamite. Those two shows are stacked.
Those two shows are stacked, and I think that anybody who goes to the shows is very lucky. You can't complain. It's 4 hours of amazing wrestling.
Moving on to some of the other things here. Some of these things, not really too much to it. Matt Sydal and Dante Martin lose to FTR. There's nothing really to break down there. Rosario Dawson popped up. She temporarily jumped on Malachi Black's back, and Cody Rhodes started fighting with him.
If Cory Booker had actually gotten far in the election, that could have been our first lady. I just want to point that out.
Huh. Andrew Yang, by the way. There's a hot tag.
Oh my God,
He's going back to that.
And apparently, if you believe his subtweeting, he's heard from Bo Dallas and potentially Conan.
Which we'll see how that works. I mean, in the past, anytime that somebody said this is the hammer that's going to drop, and then you end up nothing ends up happening.
We'll see.
Keep your mind in your ears and your eyes on those kind of things. You got some stuff with Dark Order backstage. Anna Jay seems to be like taking charge and telling everybody to knock it the fuck off. Dan Lambert cut another promo. That's going to set up Jericho and Hager against Men of the Year. That'll be a fun match too.
Yeah.
Gun Club pointed out something pretty interesting. They're like, hey, all of us in all combinations is undefeated.
Amazing.
I'm like, wait, that can't possibly be true. I didn't double check, but I'm like, if that's true, that's kind of nuts. So that's why they turned heel, because, screw the rankings kind of deal.
I guess, but why'd you turn heel on Paul White?
Yeah, because, I don't know, fuck him. I don't know. Jade Cargill beat Layla Hirsch.
Yeah, Jade Cargill's a star. Notice
that you didn't say Layla Hirsch is a star. Maybe she shouldn't have been this high up on the tier list.
Are you serious? Okay. If it wasn't 130, I'd fight you on this.
I'm going to go back and retroactively edit that and be like, see, he said F tier. I'll be like, and by default, that means we bump up Penelope Ford. And we got some more stuff with Taz, CM Punk. Punk's going to face Hobbs.
That's
interested in that. Darby Allin beat Shawn Spears.
Dude,
Brian...
Sting is wrestling in Queens, and I'm jealous because I'm not there.
We ended up eventually setting up this thing with Miro that paid off on Rampage, where Fuego had said, I'll put my car on the line. I want another shot at the championship.
What an idiot.
And of course he lost on Rampage because that's not happening. So this whole thing that you guys were talking about before, where you guys were saying you were super into this idea that Eddie Kingston's winning the championship, that ain't happening. Not in New York.
I thought he would.
Said we're going to get Sami Zayn, it seems, is going to be...
We did also talk about being excited for that, didn't we? About Sami Zayn stepping up for Fuego.
Sammy Guevara. I think we both just said Sami Zayn.
Yeah, I think we did.
Sammy Guevara.
Sammy Guevara.
Zany Guevara. No, I want Guevara to win that championship.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And we got more stuff with Moxley and Kingston beat 2.0. Kind of sets up a little bit of the Minoru Suzuki thing. Lance Archer, of course, going to team with him next week.
I can't believe they've freaking addressed the Suzuki incident.
What even is that? I keep hearing people talk about this, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
They didn't play the theme song. Did you notice that when Suzuki came out at the end of Dynamite, they played his whole theme song, and the crowd went, Kaze ni nare. That was it. They were mad that last week they didn't get to do that. That was the Suzuki incident.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was a bit much even for me. I'll allow it this once because it's Suzuki. But other than that, no.
See, AEW fans, you've proven that you can do this with Judas. I want you to do this for everything. I want you to be going with the Miro's theme. I want you to do it all.
Do it all.
On Rampage, Anna Jay beat the Bunny. Lucha Bros beat Butcher and the Blade.
There was too much Matt Hardy on tonight's episode of Rampage.
Could have been Matt Hardy, yeah.
He beat up a fan too, didn't he?
Yeah, an Orange Cassidy looking fan. Yeah.
Yep. And he cut his hair. And Orange Cassidy sucks because he didn't even rush to save him.
Oh, he's not going to rush. Look at the man.
I mean, but that's your fan, man.
You give a thumbs up, I'm sure. So let's talk about how Andrade seems to be in a little bit of a pickle, because they were setting up this idea, we think at the very least, that he was going to boot Chavo Guerrero and get a new manager in Ric Flair. And then Dark Side of the Ring, The Plane Ride from Hell airs. If you haven't watched the episode yet, you got to watch the episode, because you got to have the context of what the episode's about. But the long and short of it, if you haven't heard the story before, is a breakdown of an airplane ride that had happened years ago in WWE.
2002.
So, nearly 20 years ago. But that doesn't change what happened. It's just for context. where they had rented this plane. They ended up having issues with the plane. They were on there for, was it 9 hours? I think they had said.
Yeah, I think it was 7 hours on a plane.
Something along those lines.
Well,
Maybe it's 8.
It was a 7-hour flight, but with the issues, probably 9.
And a whole series of things went down. Some of these stories are very funny. And some of them are not at all fucking funny. Because when you hear it out of context on some of the other stories that have happened over the past couple of years, some of them come off very, very humorous. If you hear, hey, Michael P.S. Hayes was asleep, and as a little bit of a hazing thing, somebody cut off his ponytail and he was all pissed. It's like, yeah, I'd be pissed if I were him too, but it is kind of funny in like the sense that you watch like Jackass and they use like the little buzzers and they cut into each other's hair and stuff. That can be kind of funny. The more that you get deeper into this kind of stuff, you're like, oh, I understand why this is called The Plane Ride from Hell, because it's just a bunch of drugged out, drunken, hooligan type material.
Yeah.
Just bad behavior all around. And it's like some of that boys will be boys mentality that's been writing it off for the past bunch of years, and now that's not flying the same way.
Fly. That just does not fly.
It flies less than the plane was that day.
Outside of the main one that we're gonna talk about, Rob Van Dam also talked about like dudes regularly drugging women
and each other
like,
too.
Yeah.
Like if JR's like, people would just like drug each other because it would be funny that they were like frothing at the mouth, and it's like, what the hell? No. You don't ever drug anybody's drink for any reason.
Yeah. It's fucking weird.
This H-bomb thing. But you've got mostly the thing that's coming out. The biggest backlash about this is about a flight attendant. And again, you got to watch the episode to really understand the context of some of this stuff. But, they've done a WWE story time of, for instance, Ric Flair talking about being naked in his robe and flirting around with a bunch of flight attendants and everything like that. It's played for laughs. And obviously, some scenarios aren't quite the same, or it's not in the same viewpoint, and it's not, somebody might laugh at something that somebody else is going to laugh at, and there's all sorts of different kinds of things about this. But 3 people come out of this. 4 to a certain extent. There's more than 4. Now I'm thinking about it. But quite a bit of people come out of this looking pretty bad, to say the least. I guess the person who probably has it the best out of the ones that looked bad out of this was Dustin Rhodes, because his thing was he basically got super drunk and started to karaoke sing that he still had feelings for Terry Runnels.
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar doesn't look all that good, because the Brock Lesnar story, if you believe Terry's side of things, was he basically just flashed her. For no reason other than he look at, this.
Yeah.
Not okay. It's...
Yeah. The idea of Brock Lesnar saying he look at this to anything is pretty funny.
I was going to say something else other than this, but, if we're talking about ouchies and boo-boos, I don't want to start throwing other language out there. This video is already marked as not for kids, so. But that's, I don't, do you think that there's going to end up being any backlash when it comes to Brock? Or do you think that everybody else is swallowing this so much?
I think Terry plays it for laughs. In the things that I've seen, she's mocked it. She's mocked the size of it. I think it's been mostly played for laughs.
She's been talking a lot about, I've never seen something as pink or something.
And one thing, she called it the tiny red penis. That's like something she's said in the past. So that is what it is. Like, I think Brock will be fine. Brock Lesnar, I'm sure he'd be okay. You know who's not going to be okay? Tommy Dreamer.
So Tommy Dreamer is the first one. Before I had seen this episode, he was the first one that I started seeing online that he's trending. And I'm like, why is Tommy Dreamer trending? That's kind of weird. And of course, whenever I see somebody trending, first thing I think of, something happened to him. Because it's almost never like, Tommy Dreamer is trending because he, I don't know, maybe saved somebody from a riptide like Al Snow.
Like
fucking cool.
That was awesome.
Hats off to Al Snow for doing that. Badass. But it ends up being, all right, he is, I think that you were the one who pointed it out to me. You're like, all right, well, Tommy Dreamer's canceled.
I said Dreamer's probably canceled, and he's like, the more, because I hadn't seen it yet, and all of a sudden I'm seeing everybody like, and to hell with Tommy Dreamer, and screw Ric Flair, and I knew the issue with Flair, but I did not know what happened with Dreamer, and then I saw the clip of what Dreamer said before watching the full thing, and it's not a good look.
For all intents and purposes, this is how it comes off. It basically comes off as Dreamer says,
well, let's explain what Flair did.
Flair, according to the different stories and whatever, Flair was doing his seemingly regular thing of being naked and doing a helicopter dick act of look at how I can swing it. And on top of that, basically cornered one of the flight attendants and sort of started forcing himself on her in some ways.
And the flight attendant was in the episode.
And obviously, if you listen to how she says these things, you can tell that this was not.
This is a very traumatizing experience for her.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, haha, this crazy old man's whatever, and this is a fun story that I tell everybody whenever they ask me what funny stories I have as being a flight attendant. Does not come off that way whatsoever. And it, from Dreamer's side of things, it, for all intents and purposes, comes off as him saying, that's Ric Flair, he does that shit, we find it funny, and if you don't find it funny, you have no fucking sense of humor. And it's like, that is not the way you approach these things, you know? Like,
Dreamer needs to reevaluate things, and I'm sure he will. You know, because not defending what he said, just assuming, like, he probably got into a, wrestler mentality of, like, yeah, it is what it is, which is wrong, but these people, they think they can get away with that shit just because, hey, you want to hear these wrestler stories? Okay, fine. These are these wrestler stories. Wait, what do you mean that there are repercussions for these actions?
And it's not that whole, like, it's different times, so that just makes it okay. It's not like, I know that, like, Dreamer says, hey, you're offending everybody with everything these days. And I do feel like that. I do feel like sometimes people just are offended for the sake of being offended, but that doesn't mean that people can't still be legitimately upset about legitimate problems. You know, it's not black and white scenario where everything is like that. There's gray areas for everything.
And I don't think Dreamer will ever be able to live down what he said, but I hope that he saw the documentary, saw what the flight attendant's viewpoint was, and said, oh my God, that was a terrible thing of me to say.
So he comes out of this looking really bad. He has been indefinitely suspended from Impact.
Yeah.
Which is the immediate backlash that we have seen. And typically speaking, that's probably going to lead to him being released from Impact.
Or like because he has enough platforms, he could do the Apology World Tour. You know, there are people who just aren't going to care, even if even if he's not that kind of a person. He said what he said, and it was really wrong what he said. So, what do you do?
Scott Hall, of course, has backlash on him. but I'm not even really hearing all that much about it. And
for what?
For his part of it.
Yeah, but like Scott Hall, unlike Ric Flair, who just seems to be a sex addict, like Scott Hall almost always nearly dies from his substance abuse issues. And I think that with Scott Hall, people just hope and pray that one of these days he will truly be clean. But I think it's more about that than anything else.
Well, I haven't heard as much backlash from the Scott Hall thing. I think because people are kind of just like, well, we know that. And the Tommy Dreamer thing was like, oh, wait, oh no, like, what's this all about, Because even the Ric Flair thing, like, of course, at this point now, people are like, hey, I hope that AEW doesn't hire Ric Flair. And Ric Flair is already losing some stuff with the, was it Car Shield, where they're apparently dropping him, I guess.
They have paused the ads for the time being. As of now, no statements have been put out by Ric Flair, Tommy Dreamer, nothing from Charlotte Flair. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
And on the episode, they do say things like they reached out to Brock Lesnar and he didn't respond. Scott Hall says he has no recollection of that night, et cetera, et cetera. So, of course, there's all this legalese type stuff. And we weren't there. We can't speak to it. We can't speak on behalf of anybody. We can only speak from people who watched the episode, who are wrestling fans, who have a podcast. But it's not a good look for the people that are involved here. Even the people that didn't necessarily do anything, but like, I'm seeing a lot of people that are like, hey, fuck Jim Ross because he was on the plane and that kind of thing. And
Jim Ross, the way I know that he had said, hey, listen, if you've been around Rick long enough, you know when to kind of stop the game, and if you don't know, then you could have gotten in trouble. I think it's terrible. I think what Flair did is terrible. I don't know what the repercussions will be, but it's clear that we're not laughing this one off as, oh, it's just Ric Flair.
Mm-hmm. Not anywhere like it was a couple weeks ago with the whole picture that was thought to be him on the plane or train or automobile, whatever it been. Like
or in a fox, or in a fox,
house,
or in a
house
with a fox.
Yeah, that a couple weeks ago, everybody was like, haha, Ric Flair, dirty's playing the game kind of thing. And then now it's just like, all right, well, that's unsettling.
Oh, you're a pig and you're fucking gross. And
so I recommend for people to check out the episode. I think you can draw your conclusions from that if you have not checked the episode. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of backlash does come out of this. And
it won't be WrestleMania Backlash.
No, nor will it be Payback, because that's not on the schedule for this year.
And there you go.
So I'm looking through the rest of these hot tags. I think we kind of ran through all the hot tags, funny enough.
Alrighty.
So I don't want to end on that note. I want to end on something funny. And this has nothing to do with pro wrestling. But Norm Macdonald passed away. This is the funny thing. Obviously. Norm Macdonald passed away a couple days ago, and that sucks. And he was not somebody who, like, I don't worship any celebrities or anything like that, but if you want to laugh and you find just like, if you're looking for like genius comedic humor, Norm Macdonald is somebody everybody has to check out at some point. And just for the sake of it, just because I've had this on my brain, I've listened to it a couple times and I've laughed hysterically about it. And I just kind of figure, we're not doing a Fanboys podcast. That's like a weekly thing or something. I'll put it on here. Obviously, if you don't care about Norm Macdonald, skip to the end of the episode, that kind of deal. But did you ever hear the moth joke?
Yes.
The moth joke is fantastic. And for anybody who hasn't checked it out, it's something that you should really do. You just go to the Conan O'Brien thing, check out the moth joke. I can't do it justice by saying it, but I think that that's something that, like, don't take away the end of this conversation of the Dark Side from Ring. Go watch that, and it's this horrible thing. Go check out the Norm Macdonald moth joke.
All right, so this episode has been extra long, and I'm gonna suggest, since it's happening live as we speak, that you and I watch Ron Funches in a wrestling match to end this episode.
What is happening with that?
Ron Funches.
He's wrestling?
Is in a wrestling match right now, yes.
Where and how is what's going on?
It's GCW.
Huh.
And he's wrestling Tony Deppen, and Paul Schaefer is his cornerman.
Huh. Okay, I can see what's going on here. Paul Schaefer, a comedian that some people might recognize from some different things. Ron Funches has been in a bunch of different things. This is pro wrestling related, so why not?
Also, Paul Schaefer, the object of affection of one Robin Sparkles.
Was he?
Oh no, it's not Paul Schaefer. That's Paul Schaefer. Never mind. I got the wrong Paul. Ron Funches is in a Ric Flair robe.
Yeah, very much a Ric Flair robe. So who is, like, what's the backstory behind this? Because
Ron Funches likes wrestling. GCW is very much crazy. It's 2 a.m. on a Saturday.
Can we officially say at this point, you've got WWE and AEW, and they are essentially WWF and WCW. And GCW is ECW.
Absolutely.
Because even though Impact is a thing and Ring of Honor is the thing.
He doesn't look terrible.
All things considered, Funches, yeah.
Funches looks alright.
Then who's he fighting?
Tony Deppen of Ring of Honor.
And who's this? What's his story?
He's a pure wrestler, and he thinks he doesn't want this joke of Ron Funches.
It's just you're one of them silly haha guys, and I don't like that. That kind of deal.
Yep.
So I'm very curious how this is going to be. But yeah, why not do an impromptu watch along when it comes to this, right?
Impromptu watch along. Because I'm not ending on Ric Flair's disgusting behavior.
Yeah, it's 2 hours and 22 minutes already, but I don't know. Yeah, you get a little bit extra bonus material when it comes to this. This could technically have been a dark cast, and we're giving you this.
No, we're giving you this for free because we're not ending on the Ric Flair note.
Right. In the meantime, you also should check out that moth joke, because that moth joke is fucking great. It's absolutely great.
And we'll just go ahead right now. You can follow me on Twitter and all social media platforms at DudeFelice, and make sure to check out all the retro content that Callum and I have done in the Smark Out Moment archives for the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast and the 2001 Wrestling Odyssey podcast.
And since they haven't quite gotten started yet, I'll say this too as well. Stay tuned for the other things that are happening over the next couple of weeks. We've got a lockup right now, but we've also got some brand talk. And I'm thinking what we might do the week after Extreme Rules. We might do how would we book the draft? And it might be that the three of us go, I think we need to move this person over here. I think we need to move this person here. We're doing a lot of roster talk lately, but that's kind of just the way that some things are working out. So we might do that. We might do something else depending on what ends up happening. But we eventually are going to be recording in advance our all-time roster stuff. That's going to be airing during the time frame that I'm doing my honeymoon and my wedding and everything. So my honeymoon. If you don't know what the honeymoon reference is, go and check out our License to Kill review over at the Review to a Kill series on fanboysanonymous.com. There's going to be a lot of stuff on Fanboys that are coming up over the next couple of weeks too. So I'm going to try to cram in as much of that as I possibly can. Just off the top of my head, I know that like I'm going to be seeing a couple different movies over the course of the next couple weeks. What's the next one that's coming out? It's
Is it not No Time to Die?
Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Oh, yes, October 1st. Also, October 1st, New Day and The Undertaker thing. And we will watch that.
So I don't have that written down, but I'm going to write that down now. Eventually, the James Bond stuff. I'm not going to write up anything or do anything about like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but that was a good ending for that. Sad about Lucifer ending. All right, so we're doing some hip tosses and everything here.
Funches got 2 arm drags in. Okay. He did
a drop kick of sorts. Crowd's into it.
How can you not be? You're watching Ron Funches wrestle with Paul Shears right there. You could touch him.
Like, I don't think that's something I'd be like, oh my god, Paul Shear.
Like, yeah, but it's like how much do you think they paid to get in here? And you're watching Ron Funches wrestle, and Paul Shear is within arm's reach of you.
Well, I hope that this isn't the end of the match, and that would be it. But we got a submission going on.
Hey, how about we don't zoom in on the guy talking to the other guy? Hey, they're doing the arm shift thing. I missed this in wrestling.
I miss doing the.
Ready? Are you ready?
He's gonna do the. He's not quite falling down yet. Oh no! They're not doing that.
I don't know, because Tony let go. Not you, Tony, but Tony Deppen.
Swerve. And not Isaiah Scott.
Funches doing all right so far.
How do you think this ends? How does Funches win?
A Hulk Hogan leg drop.
For some reason, I was thinking DDT.
If not that, it's a Stone Cold Stunner.
Because everybody wants to just do the Stunner, yeah.
Yeah, like, I doubt he flies at the top.
I mean, technically, we've seen people do stuff like that before. You get up to the top, you do a splash kind of deal.
But he ain't Stephen Amell. Like, Stephen Amell was, doing arrow spots and all that.
I will say I've gotten more into heels since now I'm like 6 episodes in or something.
Nice.
So I'd recommend the show for anybody that's it seems like it's better to binge it. Like I didn't watch 2 weeks or so, and it's a little bit better to binge. So we're looking over in the crowd, and it is...
Hey, it's Danhausen. Are you aware of Danhausen?
I've heard of the name. I would not have been able to tell you that that's him.
So that's just like... Yeah, he's fun.
So he is... he used to be a Sting fan, at the very least.
Yes. Do you understand why I say that this stuff is way better if you're in the live crowd than it is if you're like watching?
Very much so, because I'm like, all right, so it's a guy I don't really know, and he's okay.
But if you're there, you're like, it's even if you don't know who he is, you're like, this is the most wild thing I've ever seen live.
And is he just gonna replace him or
no
tag out kind of thing?
No.
He's gonna coach him. Does Danhausen have some kind of a gimmick that he does all the time?
Yeah, that is the gimmick. He's like, imagine if, you know who Svengoolie is?
No.
Imagine if like a male Elvira crossed with Conan O'Brien crossed with like Jiminy Glick.
Ugh, hated Jiminy Glick. And then we got this guy's ass hanging out.
What do you have against Jiminy Glick?
Not a fan of the Jiminy Glick thing.
I love everything Martin Short does.
They are not putting his ass back.
I guarantee you.
His ass didn't leave anywhere. It's just that his trunks got pulled down. Like they got to put it back somewhere.
I thought you said there's no rules. Did you see that? He isn't getting back anywhere.
And he is just keeping his trunks down.
He's
just going to be mooning the entire rest of the match, I guess.
Oh, they're doing the tequila dance.
Now, what's the tequila dance?
You know, Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Never liked Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I mean, Pee-wee. It was one of the Pee-wee movies. It's just a tequila song.
Oh, I have no audio because it would end up just being an audio issue.
Oh, man.
So to me, they're just literally like kind of Ric Flair walking, and I'm like, I have no context here. T-minus how long before this guy's dick pops out?
I think he's got a good handle on it.
So you're complimenting him too? He's got a good handle on him?
Yeah.
See, now, if I think the tequila song that you're talking about, I think Ninja Turtles. Ninjutsu.
Yeah, basically.
Great movie, by the way, if anybody wants to hear. That 1990 Ninja Turtles movie, it still holds up.
Okay, it's coming back up.
To the back of the ring now.
Okay, good. He pulled his trunks.
He's pulled his trunks back up, so no more ass shots for anybody who could have been a selling point.
They gotta
have that song stuck in your head, right?
Yeah. Here's a door. Because they don't do tables, they do doors.
Now, if they close that one, where's the other one that'll open? I only see one.
Well, you have to close it first. Because only when one door closes does another one open.
Maybe this is like some APA rules where you have to set the door up first to be able to open or close it.
Paul Scheer, go kick the guy in the dick. Like, what are you doing?
He, by the way, looks exactly the same as he's looked for like 20 years.
That's good.
It's good for him now. It's bad for him then. That kind of deal.
Well, he wins in the long run.
Yeah. So this door is being set up on top of two very, very flimsy wooden chairs that do not want to cooperate, and to the point that the referee is helping out. Because, fuck it, whatever. This is not going to work well. It's not going to happen. This isn't going to break.
No, he's going to push him. So Funches is going to push Tony Deppen backward through a table.
No, I don't think that's going to break. Oh, it broke. Okay, I'm wrong. So he power bombs him through the table. That's going to be the end of it. No, it kicks out. Okay.
No, it's not going to be the end of it. It's an indie match, for God's sake.
Then there goes that idea that just a DDT would end this match.
Yeah. Let's see, what else can we get? Maybe, where's a good old-fashioned steel chair? There it is. There it is.
Literally, where is whatever as he's handing it to him. Okay, so that's stuck in the corner right now. So somebody's getting head first through there.
It will absolutely be Funches.
I'm assuming it's probably going to be Funches. No,
or
maybe not. Okay,
so
they're just...
good lord.
oversell the hell out of it, but why not? And we're getting another roll up.
Alright, he's gonna hit the stunner. Like, he's getting fired up.
We're getting like he's gonna do another power bomb.
Canadian Destroyer.
Canadian Destroyer, okay. One, two, kick out. Paul can't believe it.
Well, I can't believe that I just saw. They're calling it the Fun Trap Supreme, since you can't hear it.
What's your go-to if you get something from Taco Bell?
I'm very basic, but I get 2 soft tacos with cheese and 2 chicken quesadillas.
It's not a bad order, though. Just cheese?
On the taco?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
So you basically get the 4 of the same thing.
Well, no, because one is ground beef and one is.
Oh, you get chicken quesadilla. That's right.
Paul Scheer just turned heel on Ron Funches. just so we're clear.
Oh, you gotta even it up. And now they're hugging it out.
What the fuck am I watching?
Now Shear's throwing. What's he throwing out to the crowd? I don't know what it was. Throwing some punches to funches. So who's that in the crowd?
It's Alley Cat. Yeah.
So she just hit a pile driver.
So Alley Cat was on the recent AEW Dark tapings.
So she is gonna do something here to
Paul Scheer. She's got a knife.
It's a knife?
She has a knife. She is quartering the hand with a knife. She got her mask on, kind of.
The referee's in the way of the knife.
There's a knife. Oh, shit.
Paul Scheer booking it to get out of there, running around the ring.
She's chasing him with a knife.
Sincerely hope that she doesn't fall and hurt somebody.
She used to date not Jungle Boy, MJF.
Huh. It seems like that's probably the end of this because she's just chasing him out of the away from the fans.
Why is Paul Scheer a dick? Like, when are we gonna get Ron Funches versus Paul Scheer at the next GCW show?
I mean, if you had the opportunity to be a babyface or a heel, no, you'd be a babyface.
I'd try to be a heel.
Yeah, let's be honest, you'd be a babyface.
I'd try to be a heel.
You're too nice to be a heel.
I appreciate that.
You'd be like, okay, I'm here to tell everybody to have a good time. Like, yeah. Just have fun, guys. I think I could turn the crowd against me by doing a couple of my lame puns. I'd be like, I don't fucking like this guy.
He kicked Funches in the dick.
He's stacking them up now. 1, 2, 3? Was that a 3?
Really? He beat Ron Funches with a kick to the dick. That's so lame. I'm sad. What was that? Like, you could have beat him with anything.
I can tell you one thing it wasn't. Match of the year.
Well, Paul Scheer's a heel.
Somebody just threw something into the ring. Yeah, Danhausen's in the ring. So is this supposed to just set up this guy against Danhausen?
No, I think this is just GCW. Does
that person's shirt just say wrestling is gay?
Yep.
Okay.
That is the clothing brand of Effie, who is also gay.
Oh.
And he does things like the Big Gay Brunch.
Oh, so it's not just like somebody decided that they wanted to have a shirt that said that. This guy's wearing an AEW Mox shirt.
He has green hair, and it's completely shaved on one side.
And I don't know why Funches and Danhausen are celebrating in the ring.
They're celebrating. Funches should have absolutely won.
If they didn't say anything about punches to Funches, then that's disappointing.
They did.
Okay, good.
I like the Canadian Destroyer being the Fun Trap Supreme.
Crunchwrap with no sour cream and with no tomatoes. That's one of my go-tos. I don't like sour cream and tomatoes.
Funch has got to be tired.
He looks
Funch
tired.
has got to be exhausted.
Shit, I would be.
Say something to the hard cam, Funches. All right.
He doesn't have the training for the hard cam.
So that was fun.
That was the thing bonus that we didn't plan on doing here, but it was a way to end things off with something on top of that.
Not Ric Flair being a scumbag.
So we already did all of our plugs, but stay tuned for the next couple of things that are going to be coming your way. Of course, if you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, then you will know when these videos go up. And the next video, at least it's currently planned, is going to be the NXT, not in the slightest bit the NXT, the Extreme Rules pay-per-view predictions. And then we will get into the hot tags, and we'll run down any other kind of adjustments that they have on the card, because they'll probably wait until after SmackDown to announce half the matches that are on there or something. And then eventually on the weekend, we'll do the post-show for that. Next week, after that, when we get into the stuff following post Extreme Rules, potentially how would we book the draft? How would WWE?
You're doing great, man.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
And then we are gonna potentially do not only the Q4 mailbag, but also that'll be the week that we can be talking about the draft results and breaking that down. So take that into consideration. Then a blank week. Currently, the plan is that it's a blank week. Get into a little bit of Crown Jewel predictions. Do the post show for that one. And then we are talking that it's the 10-year anniversary of Smack Talk.
We're talking 10 years.
So I don't really know exactly what we're doing. That is the week of my wedding. So I am more than likely going to be way, way, way too busy to be...
No, you won't.
Being like, let's record every single day and to do a bunch of episodes and whatever.
The wedding planning process has been smooth as butter. Stop lying.
Of course it has, maybe we do some kind of a state of the wrestling union address like it was suggested. Maybe we do something else. I don't know. But, these are things that are happening over the next month. And next thing is going to be the Extreme Rules prediction. So we will see you with that episode. Like us, share us, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Check out the website. Check out fanboysanonymous.com. Pick up some merch on TeePublic and Redbubble. Say hi to your neighbor for me. I don't know. Whatever it might be. And we will see you next time, everybody. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.